Stepping out of the Civil Affairs Bureau, Shin-chan stared at the gold-lettered marriage certificate in her hand, her mind still a little dazed. She had actually gotten married on a whim. Even more unbelievable was that her impulsive marriage wasn't with her pilot boyfriend of 7 years, Jinchwon, but with a blind date arranged by her family, whom she had only met a few times, the head of the Chi Corporation, Chi Yang. The marital residence is ready, in Building 11 of Yehaewan Mansion. The man across from her spoke in a gentle, calm voice. His brow was deep, his features sharp and distinct. He wore a well-tailored handmade suit, tall and upright, with a slender figure, exuding a noble and restrained composure in every gesture. Saying that, Chi Yang handed her a car key and an Amex Centurion card. "I got you a car. The card has no password. Use it if you want. You take care of things in Shanghai first. I'll pick you up on the 25th to go back to Beijing. And we'll have the wedding in Seattle on the 30th, thank you." But Shin-chan subconsciously wanted to refuse. Her eyes fell on the keys and card he handed over, but before she could finish speaking, Chi Yang interrupted her calmly. "We are a legal couple now. I'm your husband. No need to be so polite with me." His tone was calm, without a trace of emotion. "I'll go back and prepare for the wedding first. For the remaining 10 days or so, you should sort out your feelings in Shanghai." Shin-chan was slightly stunned, took the keys and card, and nodded solemnly. I'll wait for you to pick me up on the 25th. Okay." Chi Yang nodded, then turned and walked towards the Maybach parked by the roadside. It wasn't until the car drove away that Shin-chan lowered her head to look at the key in her palm, then turned and walked towards the Bugatti Type 87 parked on the other side. In recent years, she rarely drove, afraid that her skills would become rusty and damage the car. So she simply sent the car to the 4S shop for a comprehensive maintenance. After dealing with these matters, she took a car back to her and Jinchwan's residence. No, 10, Tan Palace. Jinchwan returned home shortly after she entered. He was wearing a white pilot uniform, dragging a carry-on suitcase through the door, exuding a cool and aloof aura. His face was handsome, his features almost impeccable, except for the small mole at the end of his narrow, phoenix-shaped eyes, which always reminded people of the fortune-teller's words, "This is the face of a heartless man." Shin-chan glanced at the European-style clock on the wall. It was only 3 in the afternoon. She couldn't help but ask, "Why are you back so early today? He used to come home at 10 o'clock at night." As Jinchwan casually placed his carry-on suitcase aside, he answered, "A friend just returned from abroad, and I'm going to pick them up at the airport." "What friend?" She blurted out the question, but immediately regretted it. He never liked her prying into his personal affairs. She was just a travel consultant, essentially a tour guide, while Jinchwan was not only a captain for New Air but also the heir to New Universe Aviation. Their identities were worlds apart, unequal from the very beginning. They dated for a full 7 years, but always secretly, like underground lovers who couldn't see the light of day. Sure enough, his face immediately turned cold, and his tone carried a hint of annoyance. "Just a regular friend. You don't know her." Shin-chan wisely didn't press the matter further. After all, she was now married, and it really wasn't appropriate to interfere in another man's private affairs. Jinchwan placed the laptop on the coffee table and went into the bathroom to take a shower, but not long after he went in, the laptop on the coffee table kept popping up with WeChat message notifications. Shin-chan couldn't help but open the laptop. It wasn't password protected, and the page displayed Jinchwan's WeChat. A contact saved as forgot kept popping up with new messages. The profile picture showing a woman with an intellectual and beautiful appearance. "Jinchwan, I've regretted breaking up with you 7 years ago. I didn't know how to cherish you. We were still together during our senior year internship, but you were too busy with work, and we barely saw each other. Later, a man was exceptionally kind to me, allowing me to experience the feeling of being in love again, so I got together with him. But I don't love him at all. I've always loved you. I just wanted to make you jealous back then. I didn't expect you to actually break up with me. I only lasted a month with that person. I haven't dared to return to Shanghai all these years, afraid that you wouldn't want to see me, afraid that you had completely forgotten me, and even more afraid that even you wouldn't want me anymore." I heard from friends that you've had many girlfriends, and they all look like me. I know you've never forgotten me. If possible, now that I'm back, can we put the past behind us, get to know each other again, and start over?" Message after message popped up, and Shin-tong watched quietly, her eyes without a trace of emotion. Before long, she saw Ji-yu Jinchuan in the upstairs bathroom actually replying to the forgot woman's message on his phone. "Tang Wn, after all you've said, I'll only ask you one question. Do you still love me?" It turned out that the woman behind the note forgot was actually Ji-yu Jinchuan's first love. "Tang Wn, almost a lightning-fast reply, love." Then, Ji-yu Jinchuan sent another message, 7 p.m, "I'll pick you up at Pudong Airport." After the message was sent, there was no further reply from the other party. Shin-tong closed her notebook and put the computer back where it was, as if nothing had happened. Ji-yu Jinchuan changed his clothes and came downstairs, draped in a simple yet sophisticated Loro Piana overcoat, his demeanor as clean and sharp as ever. "I'm leaving." Shin-tong looked at him and asked, "Will you be back tonight?" He paused, and after a few seconds of silence, replied, "A friend I haven't seen in a long time. I won't be back tonight." As expected, Ji-yu Jinchuan didn't come back that night, but Shin-tong was surprisingly calm. After all, in the past 7 years, he had always been flying around, and the time he stayed with her added up to only 328 days. She had known for a long time that Ji-yu Jinchuan had more than just her outside. It wasn't until today that she understood that the person he truly cared about was always his first love. Tang Wan. She used to hear Ji-yu Jinchuan's friends say that he was a playboy because he had been hurt by his first love. At that time, Shin-tong even felt sorry for him, thinking he was devoted, but looking back now, the person she should feel sorry for is herself. That night, she slept soundly, without any dreams. The next morning, Shin-tong packed up and went to Sinew Airlines to resign. She was an exclusive private customizer for a travel company under Singapore Airlines, responsible for tailoring travel routes for the wealthy. As soon as she walked into the company lobby, she saw a group of flight attendants gathered not far away, chatting and laughing enthusiastically around a well-dressed woman. "Oh, Chief Purser Tang, you've finally decided to come back from Los Angeles. You suddenly resigned without even saying goodbye back then. We were all so worried about you. Now that you're back, our face of Sinew Airlines has finally returned." Following the sound, Shin-tong immediately recognized the woman being surrounded. Tang Wan. As if sensing her gaze, Tang Wan also turned her head to look at Shin-tong. At the moment their eyes met, perhaps due to a woman's intuition, they recognized each other's identities almost instantly. At this moment, a colleague with whom Shin-tong had a good relationship quietly walked up to her and whispered, "Did you know, that's Captain Gu's first love, just back from Los Angeles. Rumor has it she cheated on him and dumped him back then, and after 7 years, he's still hung up on her." Tang Wan wore her naturally wavy hair down, dressed in a white shirt and beige wide-leg pants, looking relaxed and elegant. "So, this is the type that Ji-yu Jinchuan really likes." Shin-tong silently withdrew her gaze, swiped her face to go upstairs, came to the Huanelv department office, and submitted her resignation report. The director took her report, his face full of confusion. "Why are you suddenly resigning? You are our top custom designer here. Yesterday, a client specifically asked you to accompany them to Sri Lanka. If you leave, where will I find another private guide who speaks 10 languages?" Shin-tong said gently, "I've already registered our marriage. I plan to go back to my hometown with my husband for the wedding, and I'll settle down there in the future." "You're married?" The department head was taken aback. "Really, weren't you always single?" In her 8 years at the company, no one had ever heard her mention a boyfriend. Shin-tong smiled slightly and answered truthfully, "It was a blind date arranged by my family." "Where is your husband from?" the minister asked again. "Same as me, a Beijinger, grew up in a small alley." Shin-tong only said half of the truth, not mentioning more details. "Oh, then I wish you happiness." After Shin-tong politely thanked him, she turned and went to the administration department to start the resignation handover procedures. According to the process, the handover will take about a week. She had just signed her resignation application when a colleague from HR stopped her. "Tonight, Captain Gu is hosting a welcome reception for Purser Tang, and has booked the entire Linjiangxian restaurant. Everyone in the company is going. You should go too, since you're leaving anyway. Consider it a last get-together with everyone. Shin-tong nodded. Okay. 8 o'clock in the evening, Linjiangxian, Jiyu Jinchuan, and Tang Wn sat side by side at the main table, surrounded by a lively group of colleagues. In that atmosphere, Jiyu Jinchuan's eyes never left Tang Wn. He probably didn't even notice that Shin-tong had also come. The Riverside Inn is especially lively tonight. Shin-tong sits by the window, with a view of a marriage proposal taking place on the terrace outside. She pauses, watching the embracing couple. A hint of envy flashing in her eyes. Just then, a colleague jokingly chimes in. Captain Gu, I heard the Riverside Inn is a sacred place for proposals. Did you come here specifically to scout the location, planning to propose one day? As the words fall, all eyes turn to Jiyu Jinchuan and Tang Wn. Their faces full of barely concealed gossip. Jiyu Jinchuan simply smiled faintly, without answering, but his gaze inadvertently swept to Shin-tong by the window. Just in time to see her watching the proposal on the terrace, a hint of displeasure flashed in his eyes, as if he was somewhat annoyed. If there really is good news, I'll definitely let you know as soon as possible, he replied casually. Hearing this, Shin-tong withdrew her gaze and continued chatting with her colleagues, as if she hadn't heard their teasing just now. Meanwhile, colleagues on the other side toasted Tang Wn one after another, but Jiyu Jinchuan intercepted each cup for her. As a captain, he shouldn't drink too much, but Jiyu Jinchuan didn't care at all at this moment, as if any rule could be broken for Tang Wn. Before long, he was staggering drunk, leaning against Tang Wn, completely unconscious. Tang Wn reached out to support him, looked at everyone and asked, "He's drunk. Can someone help me take him back?" Someone joked with a laugh, "Sister-in-law, stop teasing us. Your family, how would we outsiders dare to interfere?" The word sister-in-law landed in Shin-tong's ears, causing her to pause, her mind flashing back to the 7 years she and Jiyu Jinchuan had spent together. In those 7 years, no one had ever called her that. She lowered her head and took a sip of warm water, her expression blank. Immediately after, they heard Jiyu Jinchuan drunkenly embrace Tang Wn, murmuring, "Wife, I'm not going back. Wherever you are, that's where home is. I want to be with you." This wife caused everyone present to look over, followed by another burst of laughter and teasing. Captain Gu is truly devoted. After 7 years apart, their feelings are still so strong. Tang Wn smiled gently and patted his shoulder. "Good boy, I'll take you home after the party." Shin-tong silently shifted her gaze, her heart completely devoid of any ripples. She smiled at the colleague next to her. "I'm going to head out, feeling a bit unwell." Having said that, she got up and left her seat, departing from the banquet alone. Back home, after washing up, she sat on the living room sofa when her phone vibrated. It was a message from Chi Yang. "I ordered a ring at Harry Winston. Check it out when you have time and see if you like it. This wedding is too rushed. I'm sorry for that. If you like any other styles, you can buy them." Shin-tong replied with a simple okay. Just after sending the message, she suddenly heard the sound of a key opening the door from the entrance. She turned her head and saw Tang Wn supporting a drunken and unconscious Jiyu Jinchuan as they entered. Jiyu Jinchuan mumbled, "Wife, don't go." Tang Wn coaxed him gently. "I won't go, be good." She looked natural, as if she didn't see Shin-tong at all, just helping Jiyu Jinchuan to the sofa and carefully taking off his coat. Shin-tong stood up, ready to go upstairs, but was stopped by Tang Wn. "You must be Shin-tong." Tang Wn looked at her, her eyes calm. "Jinchuan said you were his underground girlfriend of 7 years. Shin-tong was stunned, not expecting that Jiyu Jinchuan would even tell her about this underground affair. She stopped, turned around, and quietly looked at Tang Wn. "Yes, it's me." "What's the matter?" Shin-tong replied calmly. Tang Wn smiled gently. "Don't be nervous, I'm not here to cause trouble. I just wanted to say, it seems that the 7 years you were with Jinchuan can't compare to the day he and I reunited." Shin-tong raised her eyebrows slightly, her tone indifferent. "So what, are you declaring your sovereignty?" Tang Wn choked for a moment, her expression faltering. but she quickly recovered, replacing it with a generous and appropriate smile. I'm giving you a reminder as a senior. You have to understand that first love is always first love. Even if there are feelings later, that first person is always the most special. Thank you for being by Jin-chwan's side these years. I won't disturb you tonight. He's not in a state to see me out, so I'll trouble you to take care of him. With that, she gently placed Jin-chwan on the sofa, picked up her bag, and turned to leave the villa. Shin-tong didn't pay much attention to her words, turned around and called the butler to take care of Jin-chwan. Then went upstairs to take a shower and go to bed. Before going to sleep, she glanced at the time on her phone screen, September 14th. In 10 days, she would leave the city where she had lived for 8 years. The next morning, when Shin-tong came downstairs for breakfast, she saw Jin-chwan sitting in the dining room. Looking down at his phone, on the screen was a video taken by a colleague last night. A scene of him, drunk, hugging Tang Wan and calling her wife, hearing the movement. He quickly locked his phone, looked up, and pretended to be nonchalant, saying, "I'm off today. Don't you like shopping? I'll go with you." Shin-tong could hear that this was the familiar compensatory gentleness. Whenever he did something wrong, he would always try to be nice to her for a day or two. She nodded faintly. Okay, perfect. She was going to see the wedding ring that Chi-yang had custom-made for her today. After breakfast, the driver drove the car to the entrance of Harry Winston. As soon as Jin-chwan saw the jewelry brand store, known as the King of Diamonds, his face instantly turned cold, and he didn't get out of the car. Shin-tong glanced at him, noticing his obvious displeasure, but ignored it and pushed the door open to enter the store herself. As soon as she entered, a shop assistant greeted her with a beaming smile. "Mrs. Chi, the ring Mr. Chi ordered is ready. Please come this way." In the VIP room, the shop assistant carefully presented a ring to Shin-tong. It was a one-of-a-kind Winston pink legacy pink diamond ring, an 1896-carat fancy vivid pink diamond, flanked by 2 shield-shaped cut diamonds, set in an 18K rose gold and platinum base, dazzling and extremely luxurious. Shin-tong put the ring on her hand and was admiring it when she suddenly heard footsteps behind her. Jin-chwan walked in. She raised her hand and waved it at him. "Is it pretty?" Under the lights, the natural pink diamond refracted a dazzling light, clearly worth a fortune. Jin-chwan's face instantly darkened, the disgust in his eyes almost overflowing. "It's not pretty, and it doesn't suit you." The atmosphere in the VIP room instantly dropped to freezing point. He said coldly, "Shin-tong, how many times have I told you, I don't want to get married right now? Stop playing these childish games to force me into marriage. Take your time to look at it." With that, he turned and left. The atmosphere fell into a brief silence. And the shop assistant hesitated before asking, "Mrs. Chi, that gentleman is," Shin-tong said calmly, "ignore him. He's an ex-boyfriend." As she spoke, she picked up her phone, took a picture of the ring, and sent it to Chi-yang. A few seconds later, Chi-yang replied, "It's very beautiful and suits you well. You deserve the best." Shin-tong replied, "Thank you." Afterward, she selected a pair of ribbon-style wedding bands, intending to give them to Chi-yang as a return gift. Before leaving the jewelry store, she posted a Weibo update visible only to herself. "After 7 years of dating Jin-chwan, he still refuses to marry me. Little does he know, I would never marry him anyway." Subsequently, she took a car to Top Bridal shop. As soon as she stepped inside, the store manager greeted her warmly. "Mrs. Chi, these are the latest seasonal wedding dresses Mr. Chi reserved for you. We also have professional models to showcase them for you. You can take anyone you like." "Okay," Shin-tong nodded. The models took turns appearing, each wedding dress so beautiful it was hard to look away. Shin-tong took photos of each wedding dress and posted them on Moments. The caption read, "I love every single one, it's just that the closet is too small to fit them all." As soon as it was posted, the comments section immediately became lively. "Chi-yang, buy them all if you like them, I'll save a room for you to put wedding dresses in later, friend. Congratulations, our Miss Shin is finally getting married. Colleague, even if you're desperate to get married, don't steal pictures. Can you afford a top bridal wedding dress?" Immediately after, Ji Jinchuan's message popped up. Delete the moment's post. Shin-tong glanced at it but didn't respond. For just one short post on moments, Qi Yang and Ji Jinchuan had completely different reactions. What exactly is he afraid of? Shin-tong finished choosing her wedding dress, left top bridal, and returned to Tan Palace. Ji Jinchuan didn't come back, and she couldn't be bothered to ask, silently pulling out her suitcase and starting to pack. For the entire following week, Ji Jinchuan didn't return to Tan Palace. Of course, Shin-tong knew that he had been with Tang Wn the whole time. His updated group photos were all over moments every day. The aurora borealis in Tromsø, Norway, the seamless blend of sea and sky at Fiji's Rainbow Reef, the starry reflections on Bolivia's Salar de Uyuni. These places were once travel destinations that Shin-tong had dreamed of visiting with her. He has finally gone now, but not with her. It wasn't until the 7th night that Ji Jinchuan dragged his suitcase home. After showering, he returned to the master bedroom in his silk robe, a smirk playing on his lips as he saw Shin-tong, who had just finished showering. Come here. Over the years, this is how he treated Shin-tong. When he wanted her close, he would casually say come here. When he didn't want to bother with her, he would simply turn and leave. In his eyes, she was nothing more than a bed partner who came when called and never made a fuss. But Ji Jinchuan would never know that. In these 7 years, she also craved emotional value, craved a man who truly cared about her. But it doesn't matter anymore. Now, she doesn't need it anymore. Shin-tong didn't move. Ji Jinchuan raised his eyebrows slightly, stepped forward and pulled her over, sat her on his lap, and gently stroked her cheek with his fingertips. Have you learned to behave this week? Shin-tong didn't answer, only slightly turning her head to avoid his hand. He didn't mind. Lowering his head to kiss her neck, Shin-tong reached out and held his chest, saying in a flat tone, Ji Jinchuan, I don't want to do it with you. His movements stiffened, and his expression changed. Do you even remember what day tomorrow, September 22nd, is? Shin-tong asked, staring at his once familiar face. What day? It's our 7th anniversary. Ji Jinchuan got up, stared at her for a few seconds, and chuckled. So what? Shin-tong pushed him away and sat to the side. We've been together for 7 years, and you've hardly ever given me a decent gift. Can you give me one this time? For 7 years, she had been giving silently. Before parting, she only wanted him to give once. Ji Jinchuan listened, adjusted his bathrobe, and said casually, sure, I'll prepare it for you. With that, he turned and left. Shin-tong watched his departing figure, a mocking smile slowly rising on the corner of her lips. Tomorrow isn't their anniversary at all, it's just an ordinary day, she mentioned casually. The next morning, Shin-tong had just come out of the bedroom when she saw Tang Wn already sitting in the second-floor living room. Tang Wn walked over with a smile. Jinchuan said today is your 7th anniversary, and we helped you pick out a gift together last night. As she spoke, she led Shin-tong towards the walk-in closet and opened the door. A whole row of clothes and accessories hung neatly inside. The Valentino 2024 Fall/Winter collection was simple and elegant, revealing Tang Wan's aesthetic everywhere. Completely not Shin-tong's style. There were even a few haute couture dresses that were clearly custom-made to Tang Wan's figure. Shin-tong looked at the clothes without saying a word. Tang Wan's lips curved into a smile, her tone gentle. Miss Shin, I heard you work as a tour guide. You probably can't afford these haute couture items in your lifetime. You've been with Jinchuan for 7 years, even though there's no official status. Him giving you these can be considered compensation. Which one do you like? Indeed, Ji Jinchuan and Tang Wn could talk about anything. Shin-tong calmly withdrew her gaze. I'm sorry, I don't like any of these things. I'll give them to you. She smiled slightly, her tone calm but firm. Oh, and Ji Jinchuan, this is for you too. With that, she turned and left. Ji Jinchuan was downstairs working when he heard the noise. Seeing Shin-tong coming down, he closed his laptop. You always felt like I wasn't good to you before. This time, I had Tang Wn help me pick out gifts, so I'm making up for all those anniversaries I missed. His tone was indifferent. How is it? Are these gifts enough? Having an ex-girlfriend help choose gifts for the current girlfriend? Probably only a man like Ji Jinchuan. who is both deeply in love and amorous, could do something so confidently. Shin-tong replied in a measured tone, "The clothes and jewelry aren't my size, but thank you both anyway for staying up all night for these things." Having said that, she didn't look at him again and walked straight out of the villa. The wind, mixed with fine rain, gently brushed her cheeks, a little cool, but also sobering. At that moment, she felt like something was stuck in her heart, neither going up nor down. After Shin-tong left, the living room was instantly as quiet as if no one lived there. Ji-yu Jinchwon gazed towards the entrance, his eyes filled with a complexity that was hard to decipher. Just then, Tang Wn came down from upstairs. She swept her hair up, a meaningful smile playing on her lips. "You saw it too, didn't you? This Shin-tong is actually quite calculating. The better you treat her, the more dissatisfied she becomes. You think you're giving her security, but you're actually giving her confidence. Women, when they have too much security, they want to fly. You need to learn to give her a little sense of crisis. A sense of crisis will make her unable to leave you." Ji-yu Jinchwon didn't respond, only looked at her with deep eyes, his expression unreadable. Meanwhile, Shin-tong had already gone to the company. Today was her last day to handle resignation handover. She was busy all day, and it wasn't until before leaving work that she handed over the last client information to her colleague, officially ending all her work at Sinew Aviation. When she walked out of the building with her colleagues, she ran into Ji-yu Jinchwon and Tang Wn, who had just gotten out of the car and were about to enter the company. Their eyes met briefly, then knowingly looked away. At the company, they were always unacquainted strangers, an existence that couldn't be brought into the light. Just then, the female colleague next to her suddenly grabbed Shin-tong's left hand and exclaimed, "Oh my God, isn't this a HW wedding ring? Are you really getting married? When did you get a boyfriend? We work together every day. How come we didn't hear a peep about it?" Ji-yu Jinchwon had already reached the company entrance, but stopped when he heard that sentence. He turned his head to look, only to see that Shin-tong was wearing the pink diamond ring on her hand. He remembered it very clearly. His eyes instantly turned cold, a layer of frost seeming to form at the bottom of his eyes, but Shin-tong just smiled and said, "You'll know in a week." With that, she said goodbye to her colleagues and turned to get into the taxi. Back in the car, she took out her phone and saw the message Ji-yu Jinchwon had just sent. "I won't marry you in a week either." Shin-tong looked at the screen and suddenly laughed. Did he really think this ring was meant for him, for her to marry him? Where did he get the confidence to think she couldn't live without him? She didn't reply, and just turned off her phone. Late at night, Thompson Riviera. Shin-tong had just fallen asleep when the bedroom door was suddenly pushed open, startling her awake. In a haze, she saw Ji-yu Jinchwon standing in the doorway, his face looking grim. "Didn't I tell you a long time ago? That ring isn't suitable for you, and I don't have any plans to get married right now." Shin-tong yawned, sat up, and said in a languid tone, "You've misunderstood. I just liked it, so I bought it." Ji-yu Jinchwon, with a cold face, took out a bank card from his pocket and handed it to her. "How much money can a tour guide have? This is the money you spent on the ring. I'm making it up to you, and let me remind you, don't do things that cause misunderstandings again, and don't say things that cause misunderstandings. If you do this again, I will never marry you in this lifetime. Never in this lifetime." Shin-tong suddenly sobered up, staring at the card, a sardonic smile slowly rising at the corner of her mouth. It wasn't that he couldn't afford a ring, but that he had always resisted marriage. In his eyes, a ring equaled a promise, equaled responsibility, and he had never been willing to give her these things. Marriage, to him, was a transaction after weighing the pros and cons, and she, Shin-tong, was never the first choice of someone worth marrying. But Ji-yu Jinchwon didn't know that. In fact, he was never Shin-tong's first choice either. Shin-tong's gaze slowly moved from the card to his face. This face, just like 7 years ago, was handsome and refined, just like the way he made her heart flutter back then. But now, her heart was as calm as a lake without wind. Perhaps it was because she was already married. Perhaps because she had already registered her marriage with another person. Or perhaps because her future already had a new belonging. The face that once haunted her dreams no longer stirred her heart when she looked at it again. "I've already paid for this ring. Take this card back, I don't need it, she said softly, returning the card to him, then turned around and lay back down on the bed. Ji Jinchwon was stunned for a moment. For the past half-month, he had felt that something about Shin-tong had changed, but he couldn't quite put his finger on it. It was as if a little bit of warmth had quietly disappeared from her. He didn't think too much about it and turned to leave the bedroom, but in the instant he turned, he saw the 8 large suitcases neatly arranged in the corner. Why are you packing so many suitcases? Shin-tong, with her back to him, said calmly, getting ready to go back to my hometown. Ji Jinchwon frowned. Why do you suddenly want to go back? In these 7 years, Shin-tong rarely mentioned her family, and he didn't know much about her parents. It's nothing. I miss them and want to go back and see them, she said, still unhurried. Ji Jinchwon walked a few steps closer, looking at the row of luggage. But it's not like you need to pack this much, right? It's not like you're moving. These things are what I want to take home and cherish. Her tone was as calm as ever. These souvenirs she bought during her travels over the years were originally kept in Tangong, and she couldn't bear to throw any of them away. But she didn't want to leave these precious memories in a place without love. 8 large 28-inch suitcases, packed by her over an entire week. During those days when Ji Jinchwon accompanied Tang Wn on her trip, she quietly organized each item by herself. Seeing Shin-tong's gentle tone and normal attitude, the faint unease in Ji Jinchwon's heart dissipated. In fact, he probably never really worried about anything. In his eyes, Shin-tong was the most well-behaved and sensible woman he had ever met. For 7 years, even with infrequent gatherings, Shin-tong had never argued, never made a fuss, never checked up on him, and never flew into a rage over his affairs outside. A woman who loved him deeply and posed no threat. He had always been certain that Shin-tong would never leave him. He casually said, I've been quite busy lately and don't have time to accompany you back. You go alone. Before he could finish, Shin-tong interrupted him. It's okay, I've called a car. Someone will pick me up and drop me off. You don't have to worry. Ji Jinchwon breathed a slight sigh of relief, almost imperceptible. Okay, let me know when you get there. What he feared most was Shin-tong suddenly saying she wanted to take him home to meet her parents and bring up the topic of marriage again. In fact, Shin-tong had seen through his thoughts long ago. He was afraid she would take him home. 3 years ago, she had mentioned it once so seriously. That time, she was truly moved and wanted to take Ji Jinchwon back to meet her parents. She even worried that her parents would disagree, thinking Ji Jinchwon was not good enough for her. But she didn't expect that Ji Jinchwon would get angrier that day than he ever had before. He said to her coldly, his face stern, his eyes sharp and disdainful, Shin-tong, what makes you think I would marry you? What makes you think someone of my status would marry you? She would always remember those words. From that day on, she finally understood that in Ji Jinchwon's world, she had always been just a temporary presence, never truly in his heart. Later, she never mentioned going home again. She told herself not to expect the future, but to just enjoy the current relationship until it naturally ended. Ji Jinchwon was once the life partner she had chosen for herself, but unfortunately, they were ultimately not meant to be. The bedroom gradually quieted down. Ji Jinchwon also suddenly recalled the argument 3 years ago. That time, he left Shanghai in a fit of anger and disappeared for 7 months before returning. Now, recalling that past event, a sense of guilt inexplicably arose in his heart. He walked to the bedside, sat down, and said in a rare, low and gentle tone, Shin-tong, marriage is not a mandatory option in life. Look at us now, isn't it pretty good? It's not much different from being married. I know you long for marriage. Ji Jinchwon looked at her, his tone unhurried, but you need to understand that what I'm giving you now is something many married people can't even get. Yes, Shin-tong lowered her eyes, thinking faintly, the heartache, betrayal, and cold violence he's giving her now are indeed treatment that many married people can't get, like one green hat after another. She didn't speak, just quietly looked at him. Ji Jinchwon reached out and took her left hand, his thumb gently caressing the dazzling pink diamond. Take this ring off, he said softly. When you come back from your hometown, I'll give you a regular one. He didn't know why, he just hated this ring. He didn't want to see it, didn't want it on Shin-tong's hand. Every time he saw it, he felt inexplicably irritable and even a little panicked. Maybe it was because the ring represented marriage, representing something he had been avoiding, and he hadn't had enough fun yet. Shin-tong slowly withdrew her hand from his palm. "I'm sorry," her voice was soft, but unusually firm. "I don't want to take it off. Perhaps she will never take this ring off in her lifetime." Ji Jinchuan was stunned for a moment. Shin-tong rarely refused him, but recently, she has refused him again and again, filling his heart with an unprecedented sense of unease. At that moment, his phone vibrated, and the screen lit up. It's WeChat. The one whose contact name had long been changed from Forgot back to Tang Wn sent a new message. "Jinchuan, do you still remember our childhood promise? We agreed that we must watch a meteor shower together in this lifetime. There's a Lyrid meteor shower tonight. Can you come with me?" Ji Jinchuan glanced at it, a complex expression on his face as he put away his phone. He raised his hand and gently touched Shin-tong's head. "I have something to do. I need to go out. You should go to bed early." After speaking, he left without looking back. Shin-tong didn't try to stop him, nor did she respond. She sat on the edge of the bed, and it took her a long time to get up and walk to the French window. Through the glass, she could see Ji Jinchuan driving away. She wasn't sleepy at all. So she turned on the TV. On TV, the host was reporting in an excited tone. "The Lyrid meteor shower, said to occur once every 1,000 years, will peak at 11:30 tonight. It is said that couples who watch this meteor shower together will stay together for life." Shin-tong smiled faintly. She had just seen the message on Ji Jinchuan's phone. "So, they still want to be together for life. Then I wish them all the best." Just then, her phone rang. It was a video call from Lin Ran. Lin Ran was her closest friend in Beijing. Shin-tong answered, and Lin Ran was on the other end, in a brightly lit room, waving her arms excitedly. "I heard that Qi Yang ordered that Winston pink diamond for you. Let me see it." Shin-tong raised her left hand and waved it at the camera. The pink diamond sparkled with a gentle and expensive light in the intersection of night and lamplight. "So beautiful." Lin Ran's eyes lit up. "This is the ring that the eldest daughter of our Shin family should wear. By the way, does Ji Jinchuan know?" Shin-tong shook her head. "I haven't told him yet. I plan to tell him on the day I leave." Lin Ran nodded. "Right, I'll tell him when we leave. What if he knows you're the heiress of the Shin family in Beijing and gets desperate?" Shin-tong smiled, a hint of self-deprecation in her voice. "He probably wouldn't. You don't know." She paused. "When I went to pick up the ring a week ago, his face turned dark. He even said the ring wasn't suitable for me. Today, he asked me to take it off and said he never planned to marry me. I was just thinking, if he knew that I never needed him to give me this ring in marriage, I wonder if his face would look even worse." Lin Ran's temper flared up. "What right does he have? If he didn't want to get married, why did he waste 7 years of your life?" Shin-tong walked to the window, gazing at the night sky with a calm look in her eyes. "It's not his fault either. You know, I was too lonely during those 7 years. He happened to be there at the time, so I grabbed onto him. We actually both get what we need. He wants to find a more obedient woman to give himself a temporary home and forget about Tang Wan, and I just want someone to be with me, even if it's just a little bit." Lin Ran sighed, and the other side of the screen suddenly went silent. She remembered that incident 7 years ago. Too many details, too many words, not suitable to say at this time, and Shin-tong doesn't need her to persuade her, because she's no longer the girl waiting to be persuaded. "Then are you sad now?" Lin Ran asked. Shin-tong leaned against the window and gently shook her head. "I'm okay, I can date him, but marriage is another matter. I have my own standards. Don't think that I've been with him for 7 years. To be honest, I really wouldn't dare to marry him. For the past 7 years, Ji Jinchuan has been flying around, and Shin-tong is not unaware that he has other women outside. She has always turned a blind eye because she knows that the two are just dating. Without the promise of marriage, there is no bottom line of restraint, but once married, it's different." Lin Ran nodded. "Yes, in our circle, being well-matched in terms of social status is very important. Your aunt and uncle chose Qi Yang for your future." The two chatted for a while longer before hanging up. Shin-tong stood on the balcony, gazing at the deep night. The pink diamond on her ring sparkled with delicate light in the intersection of the lamplight and the night, so beautiful that it was hard to look away. The next morning, Shin-tong was eating breakfast when she received a text message from an unknown number. "I'm Tang Wn, let's talk." Shin-tong looked at the message, a little puzzled, not quite understanding what Tang Wn wanted to talk to her about. After thinking for a moment, she decided to keep the appointment. She also wanted to know what this former female lead wanted to say. She only found out that the driver was off today before leaving. She had intended to have the driver take her, but had to drive herself. Walking into the garage, she looked at the cars that belonged to Ji Jinchwon, not wanting to touch any of them. She didn't want to use anything of his anymore, so she had the 4S store bring over the Bugatti Type 87 that Chi Yang had given her when she arrived at the restaurant. Tang Wn was just getting out of her car. Seeing Shin-tong step out of the Bugatti, a clear look of surprise flashed in Tang Wan's eyes, but she quickly regained her composure. "Miss Shin, shall we go inside and talk?" Her tone carried a hint of politeness. Shin-tong stood still, not moving. "If you have something to say, just say it here." Tang Wan didn't beat around the bush and said straightforwardly, "Then I'll get straight to the point. There are some things that Jinchwon can't say, so I have to say them. Jinchwon values relationships. He's been with you for 7 years, and even raising a dog would create feelings. If he were to suddenly drive you away, he would feel reluctant. You're alone in Shanghai, with no support, so leaving him would definitely be difficult, right?" As she spoke, her gaze shifted to the Bugatti behind Shin-tong, her eyes filled with undisguised mockery. "Your salary isn't that high, is it, without Jinchwon? Could you afford to rent such an expensive car?" Shin-tong's eyes turned cold, a hint of impatience between her brows. "What exactly are you trying to say?" Tang Wan's lips curled slightly as she continued. "Tomorrow, Jinchwon will accompany me to Verona." Shin-tong was stunned. After she and Ji Jinchwon were together, he flew all over the world, but he had never flown the Verona route. She had heard colleagues say that the route was a taboo for Ji Jinchwon. Tang Wn smiled. "Do you know why he didn't fly this route before? Because that was our promise. There's a Juliet bronze statue in Verona. Legend says that those who touch it will be blessed and lovers will be together forever. He once said that he would only fly this route with me. He didn't fly 7 years ago because of me. Now he's restarting, also because of me. After flying to Verona tomorrow, we will get back together." After listening to these words, Shin-tong looked at her quietly and said calmly, "So you're here to break up with me on behalf of Ji Jinchwon?" Tang Wn shook her head. "I want you to be sensible and not pester him. You should know that he won't marry you. You and him are not from the same world at all." Shin-tong nodded, her tone indifferent. "You're right, I am indeed not on the same level as you." She paused and added casually, "Don't worry, I'll help you make it happen." With that, she turned and got into the car, leaving with a flourish. This conversation further convinced her that leaving Ji Jinchwon was the right choice. Back at the Tan Palace, Shin-tong changed her clothes and sat on the sofa in the living room, her phone displaying the wedding itinerary sent by Chi Yang. The process sheet was meticulous. The notes were precise, and even the seating arrangements for the guests were carefully and thoughtfully arranged. She looked at her phone, her fingertip gently sliding across the screen, and suddenly felt a sense of relief in her heart. This was the life she was truly meant to live. "You can handle the arrangements," Shin-tong replied. Chi Yang quickly sent a message, "I'll pick you up in 2 days. The wedding is a big deal. We can decide when we meet. I respect your choices and will defer to you." Okay. She slept soundly that night. Ji Jinchwon didn't return until late at night. He took a shower, changed into a clean and crisp white pilot uniform, dragged his carry-on suitcase into the living room, and looked as usual. "I'm flying to Verona tomorrow. You'll be home alone. Take care of yourself." Shin-tong looked up at him, not asking much, but calmly inquired, "When will you be back?" She didn't tell him that she was leaving Shanghai in 2 days. She just wanted to hear him say, "I will be back" himself. Ji Jinchwan's face turned cold, his tone even colder. "Didn't I tell you a long time ago? Don't ask me where I'm going, don't ask me when I'll be back, and definitely don't check up on me." Shin-tong was stunned. She had indeed forgotten, perhaps she really didn't care anymore, and couldn't even remember his bottom line, preferences, and red flags. Ji-Yoo Jin-chwon left, and this departure lasted for 2 days without any news. At 10 o'clock on the morning of the 25th, Chi-yang appeared at Tan Palace on time. A whole row of Brabus G900s were neatly parked in front of the door, full of imposing manner. Chi-yang got out of the car and walked to Shin-tong, his expression as gentle and calm as ever. "Are you all packed?" Shin-tong nodded. "Yes, okay, leave the rest to them. Tell the bodyguards what you need to take. And they'll pack it up. We'll leave once they're done." As soon as the words fell, several bodyguards in black suits stepped forward. Shin-tong led them upstairs to the cloakroom and directed them to move the suitcases away. The butler came at the sound, looking surprised as he watched the bodyguards carrying the boxes. "Miss Shin, where are you going?" Without turning her head, Shin-tong replied, "Going back to my hometown." The butler hesitated for a moment, then carefully asked, "Sir, do you need me to inform him?" Shin-tong's tone was light. "No, he knows." The bodyguards were extremely efficient and quickly moved all the luggage. Shin-tong stood at the entrance of the cloakroom, taking one last look. In the corner, there were still the gifts she had given to Ji-Yoo Jin-chwon, custom-made items personally crafted by Italian designer Gabriele Boschi, suits, ties, shoes. Each piece was valuable and embodied her feelings for the past 7 years. Unfortunately, Ji-Yoo Jin-chwon had never worn any of those gifts, and some were still in their original packaging. She didn't take them away, nor did she throw them away, just leaving these things here as a stamp on the 7 years of youth she had given. She finally withdrew her gaze, turned and went downstairs. Walking out of the villa, Chi-yang greeted her. "Is everything here taken care of?" Shin-tong nodded, her tone calm. "There's one last little thing left." As she spoke, she took out her phone and sent a message to Ji-Yoo Jin-chwon. After sending it, she unhesitatingly blocked all his contact information and social media accounts. Then, she lifted her foot and stepped towards the waiting Rolls-Royce at the door, and got in. 3 days later, Ji-Yoo Jin-chwon had just finished flying the Verona route and exited the airport through the exclusive. He was wearing a navy blue suit with a white shirt uniform inside, looking elegant and suave. Behind him was a line of flight attendants, neat in uniform, forming a striking sight. Tang Wan, wearing a sky blue uniform, walked beside him and asked casually, "Jin-chwon, do you know, I saw Shin-tong 3 days ago. She was actually driving a Bugatti Type 87. Did you give it to her?" Ji-Yoo Jin-chwon stopped in his tracks, turned to look at her, and frowned slightly. No, he recognized that car. Only one in the world, and he couldn't buy it even if he wanted to. Tang Wan breathed a sigh of relief, almost imperceptibly, upon hearing this answer, her tone immediately turning sour. So she rented it herself. How vain, spending so much money on renting a car. How long can she keep it up? But Ji-Yoo Jin-chwon was no longer listening to her, his gaze fixed on the idle chatter of several flight attendants nearby. "Didn't Shin-tong from the Global Travel Department resign? We had a tourist causing trouble the other day, and we couldn't even find a translator." Hearing the word resignation, Ji-Yoo Jin-chwon stopped abruptly. He turned back to look at the flight attendant who had spoken. His voice low, "You just said, who resigned? Captain Ji-Yoo doesn't know." The flight attendant looked surprised. "Shin-tong, she's the most famous travel customizer at New Air, and the only tour guide who speaks 10 languages. It's such a pity she resigned." Ji-Yoo Jin-chwon was stunned. He knew nothing about Shin-tong's resignation. He frowned and continued to press. "Why did she suddenly resign?" The flight attendant lowered her voice. "I heard from the head of the Global Travel Department that she went back to Beijing to get married, apparently to someone from her hometown." Married? Ji-Yoo Jin-chwon was stunned. As if struck by a blow to the head, he subconsciously pulled out his phone, and after turning it on, he indeed saw the message Shin-tong had sent 3 days ago. "Ji-Yoo Jin-chwon, don't take my feelings for you over the years seriously. I've gone home and married the husband my parents chose for me." He froze on the spot. And after a long while, he sent her as soon as it was sent, a bright red exclamation mark immediately popped up behind it. "The message has been sent, but was rejected by the recipient." his brow furrowed, and he immediately tried a voice call. The other party has not added you as a friend, and voice calls cannot be made. Ji Jinchuan exited the call and clicked on Shin-tong's profile picture, only to see that her original photo had been replaced with a wedding photo. In the photo, Shin-tong is wearing a wedding dress, holding a man's arm, her smile gentle, her happiness radiant. Ji Jinchuan stared intently at the photo, as if his entire heart was clenched, his emotions churning. At this moment, Tang Wn noticed that his face was not right and leaned in. Jinchuan, what's wrong? She followed his gaze and landed on the phone screen. The next second, she exclaimed as if pricked by something. This is Shin-tong. She's married, in the photo. Shin-tong leaned against a strange man's chest. The two looked natural, a perfect match that was hard to look away from. Ji Jinchuan's face completely turned cold, his whole person as if frozen with frost, the air pressure around him plummeting. With a cold face, he put away his phone, and without looking back, he strode away, quickly leaving the airport. He sped all the way back to the Tan Palace. He pushed open the villa door and angrily summoned the butler. Where's Shin-tong? The butler was taken aback by his anger, and answered tremulously, Miss Shin left with a man 3 days ago. She said she was going back to her hometown, and that you knew about it, sir. Ji Jinchuan's face turned completely dark upon hearing this. He rushed up to the second floor, taking the stairs 2 at a time, and pushed open the bedroom door. The suitcase in the corner was gone, and all of Shin-tong's belongings that had originally been in the walk-in closet, clothes, shoes, bags, and jewelry, were gone. Ji Jinchuan stood at the entrance of the walk-in closet, his eyes as gloomy as night. After a moment, he pulled out his phone and, gritting his teeth, screenshot the wedding photo of Shin-tong and sent it to his assistant. Find out who the man in this photo is. Also, find out Shin-tong's hometown address. I need to fly to Beijing immediately. Send me all the information before I get off the plane. Received, President Ji, as the heir to Sinew Airlines. His assistant was naturally highly efficient. Soon, the flight information was sent over. Ji Jinchuan didn't even change out of his uniform before turning around and leaving Tangong. Driving to the airport, he knew he was being impulsive, but he really couldn't control himself. The voice in his heart was screaming wildly, must find Shin-tong, bring her back, otherwise, he will regret it for the rest of his life. Meanwhile, Shin-tong was lying on a private island in Seattle, enjoying a sunbath. This small island was the gift Chi Yang gave her on the day they got their marriage certificate. Their wedding will also be held on this beach, everything low-key, private, and perfect. The sun shines on her fair skin, surrounded by the blue sea and sky. Lin Ran, wearing sunglasses, leaned against the beach chair next to her, teasing as she drank coconut water. How is it? Does it feel like you've found the young Miss Shin from 7 years ago? Shin-tong gazed at the distant waves gently lapping against the rocks, her eyes softening. Yes, she whispered. I've realized that this kind of life suits me best. We've had enough bitterness. Now it's time for all sweetness. It's good you came to your senses and accepted the blind date arranged by your aunt and uncle. Otherwise, you would definitely have been hurt even more deeply by Ji Jinchuan. Lin Ran's tone was very dissatisfied when she mentioned Ji Jinchuan. Shin-tong smiled calmly. Okay, let's not mention him anymore. It's all in the past. If Chi Yang hears it, he might misunderstand. As soon as she finished speaking, the subject of the conversation walked over. Chi Yang, wearing a simple white t-shirt and black shorts, walked to Shin-tong's beach chair and sat down, smiling. What are you talking about? Shin-tong took off her sunglasses and looked at Chi Yang. Nothing. Are you done with your meeting? Yes, things are pretty much taken care of. I'll spend the rest of the time preparing for the wedding and being with you. Hearing this, Lin Ran looked at Shin-tong with a smile, the gossip in her eyes impossible to hide, and she coughed lightly. Cough, it's a bit cold. Tong-tong, I'll head back first. With that, Lin Ran got up and left, not forgetting to turn back for another glance at Shin-tong as she walked away. Shin-tong felt a little shy from Lin Ran's gaze, a faint blush slowly creeping up her earlobes. The total time she and Chi Yang had spent together was no more than half a month. They didn't know each other very well yet, so she still felt a little lost when facing him. After Lin Ran left, only Shin-tong and Chi-yang remained on the vast beach. The two sat quietly, the sounds of seagulls and waves crashing against the rocks filling their ears, creating a harmonious atmosphere. After an unknown amount of time, Chi-yang turned to look at Shin-tong. "Want to take a walk? I heard you can catch small fish in the shallows." Shin-tong looked up, met Chi-yang's gentle gaze, and nodded. "Okay, let's take a walk together." With that, the two got up and headed to the nearby shallows. Meanwhile, after Jiyu Jinchuan arrived at the airport, Tang Wn walked up to him. She was still wearing her chief purser uniform and was about to catch the next flight. Tang Wn stopped Jiyu Jinchuan and asked, "Jinchuan, why do you look so pale? I called you just now. Why did you walk away without looking back? What happened?" Jiyu Jinchuan's mind was filled with going home to find Shin-tong, and he didn't notice Tang Wn at all. "It's nothing. I have something to deal with. I can't accompany you on the next flight. Fly by yourself." Tang Wan's heart trembled, and she asked tentatively, "Is it because of Shin-tong?" Jiyu Jinchuan's face darkened, a hint of displeasure appearing between his brows. He hated others prying into his personal affairs, even Tang Wn. "I'm in a hurry, I'll go first." He didn't answer Tang Wan's question, only said this, then walked past her straight towards the waiting room. Tang Wn stood there watching Jiyu Jinchuan's back, the hands hanging by her sides slowly tightening, her eyes full of unwillingness. Jiyu Jinchuan walked into the VIP waiting room, took off his white uniform, and changed into the clothes his assistant had just delivered. Sitting in the waiting room, he called Shin-tong over and over again, sending her messages on various social media platforms, but without exception, he was blacklisted. Jiyu Jinchuan took a deep breath, suppressing the irritability in his heart. He kept telling himself that Shin-tong would not get married. She liked him so much that she was willing to stay with him for 7 years without any status. How could she marry someone else? Soon it was time to board. Jiyu Jinchuan sat in a window seat in first class, looking at the clouds outside, his eyes deep and unreadable. As if lost in thought, 2 hours later, they landed in Beijing. As soon as Jiyu Jinchuan got off the plane, he received a call from his assistant. "I'm sorry, President Jiyu, we couldn't find the exact location of Miss Shin's hometown no matter what, but we did find the identity of the man in the photo. He's the head of the Qi family in Beijing, Qi Yang. Jiyu Jinchuan had heard his family mention this name before. To ascend to the position of head of the Qi family at such a young age, his methods must be extraordinary. His parents had repeatedly warned him that he could do whatever he wanted outside, but he should never provoke Qi Yang, otherwise, no one could protect him. How did Shin-tong get involved with Qi Yang? The assistant on the other end of the phone, perhaps noticing Jiyu Jinchuan's silence, asked, "President Jiyu." Jiyu Jinchuan heard the assistant's voice and snapped back to reality. "Continue. We found out that Qi Yang is holding a wedding soon. And the bride is Miss Shin-tong. The location is in Seattle. When is it?" "The 30th, the day after tomorrow." Hearing this, Jiyu Jinchuan took another deep breath. "Book a flight to Seattle." After hanging up the phone, Jiyu Jinchuan returned to the airport, preparing to fly to Seattle. Since getting off the plane from the Verona route and learning about Shin-tong's marriage, he hadn't rested. Now his brain was a mess, unable to stop and think seriously. Coming to Beijing, flying to Seattle, seemed to be his instinctive reaction. He clearly didn't care about Shin-tong. But why did his heart ache when he heard the news of Shin-tong's marriage, and even make such an impulsive decision? By the time he came back to his senses, he was already on a flight to Seattle. The day before the wedding, Shin-tong belatedly felt a sense of unreality. She was actually getting married. Although Qi Yang treated her very well, Shin-tong still felt a faint sense of unease in her heart. Lin Ran saw her unease and stepped forward to put her arm around her shoulders, comforting her. "Don't worry, from what I've observed, Qi Yang is really good, gentle and considerate. I heard that he was involved in the entire planning of this wedding and even specially inquired about your preferences, air freighting Juliet roses to decorate the wedding venue, saying he wanted to give you the best of everything. Although he has a face that keeps strangers away, the way he looks at you is always exceptionally gentle. Even if he doesn't love you in the future, he will at least not embarrass you in front of outsiders. Most importantly, he is very generous." As she spoke, Lin Ran raised Shin-tong's hand and pointed to the pink diamond on it. "Although you can afford these things yourself, the essence is different. At least Qi Yang is willing to spend money on you, and even if you get divorced in the future, you can at least get half of his property, no matter how you calculate it. You won't lose out." Lin Ran spoke very realistically. In their class, most marriages were business alliances, with little affection, all for the sake of profit. Shin-tong left Beijing 7 years ago and went to Shanghai alone because she didn't want to accept such arrangements. At that time, she had a big fight with her family and ran away from home in a fit of anger. Even though her family stopped her credit card, she did not go back. She found a job with her own ability and also found Jiyu Jinchuan, a pilot, as her boyfriend. She thought she had found true love and could stay with Jiyu Jinchuan for the rest of her life, without having to be arranged by her family for a business marriage. But reality hit her hard. Jiyu Jinchuan didn't love her at all and never thought about marrying her. After 7 years, she was tired and had come to terms with reality. She compromised with her parents and accepted the arranged marriage. As the only child in her family, her parents naturally doted on her and chose a good marriage partner for her. Sure enough, her parents had good taste. Qi Yang was indeed a very good marriage prospect. Bringing her thoughts back, Shin-tong's gaze landed on the diamond ring on her ring finger. Indeed, Qi Yang is truly a great marriage prospect. Seeing this, Lin Ran smiled knowingly. "Let's go, take me to see your wedding dress. I heard that Qi Yang found 10 designers in Milan to design it together. It's super luxurious. Let me see it first." With that, Lin Ran led Shin-tong towards the cloakroom. The off-the-shoulder royal train wedding dress was studded with diamonds, dazzlingly beautiful. Lin Ran sincerely exclaimed, "Tong Tong, you're going to be absolutely stunning tomorrow." Shin-tong looked at the wedding dress, a faint anticipation for tomorrow's wedding welling up in her heart. The next day, wedding day, Shin-tong woke up early to put on makeup, preparing to welcome the most important moment of her life. At the same time, Jiyu Jinchuan arrived in Seattle and, according to his assistant's information, took a boat to the island where Shin-tong was holding her wedding. The sea breeze caressed his face, and schools of fish could be faintly seen swimming in the azure sea, but Jiyu Jinchuan was in no mood to appreciate the scenery at the moment. He only wanted to get to the island as soon as possible to stop Shin-tong's wedding. Soon, the ship arrived at the island. This island was bought by Qi Yang and is now a private domain. Jiyu Jinchuan was stopped by a bodyguard as soon as he entered the island. "Sorry, sir, this is a private island and is not open to the public. Please leave." Jiyu Jinchuan frowned, his tone impatient. "I want to see Qi Yang." The bodyguard was about to refuse when he heard Assistant Shu's voice from Qi Yang's side in his headset. "Let him in. Take him to Villa No. 3. Hearing this, the bodyguard stepped forward and said to Jiyu Jinchuan, "Please come with me." Jiyu Jinchuan followed the bodyguard into the island. Qi Yang sat in the study, watching Jiyu Jinchuan's figure on the island's surveillance, and said to Special Assistant Shu, "I don't want any surprises at the wedding." Assistant Shu stood to the side and nodded respectfully. "Okay, President Qi, I understand." With that, Assistant Shu left the study and headed towards Villa No. 3. After the bodyguard brought Jiyu Jinchuan to the villa, he retreated and stood guard at the door. In the huge villa, Jiyu Jinchuan was the only one. He stood in the living room of the villa, frowning. "Where is Qi Yang?" As soon as Jiyu Jinchuan finished speaking, Assistant Shu walked in. "Hello, Mr. Jiyu, I am President Qi's assistant. President Qi specifically instructed me to entertain you well. You've been traveling for so long, you haven't had a good rest yet, have you? Please come with me. The room is on the 2nd floor." Jiyu Jinchuan interrupted Assistant Shu before he could finish speaking. "Don't change the subject. Where is Qi Yang? I want to see him. And what about Shin-tong? Where is she?" Assistant Shu still wore a proper smile on his face. Today is President Qi and his wife's wedding. The two of them are naturally at the wedding venue. As he spoke, Assistant Shu turned on the giant television in the villa's living room, which displayed a live broadcast of the wedding. The wedding venue was filled with Juliet roses. And the lilies of the valley and white on the arch flower stand swayed gently in the sea breeze. Only the couple's relatives and friends were present, with the Chi family and Shin family sitting together, exchanging pleasantries. The ceremony began quickly, accompanied by the melodious violin and soft piano music. Shin-tong, in her wedding dress, slowly made her entrance. Chi-yang, in a custom-tailored Borelli suit, walked to Shin-tong's side, took her hand. And together they stepped onto the cloud mirror water stage. The sea breeze was gentle, and the sunlight was just right. The water stage reflected the figures of the two, the reflections slowly drawing closer, eventually stopping in the center of the water stage, before the priest. The two recited their wedding vows and exchanged rings. Finally, amidst the blessings of family and friends, Chi-yang slowly lifted Shin-tong's veil and gently kissed her forehead. Ji Jinchuan watched this scene through the television, the air pressure around him dropping lower and lower. The corners of his eyes turning scarlet. At the very beginning of the wedding, he had wanted to rush out of the villa and head to the wedding venue, but the 8 bodyguards at the door blocked him, and he couldn't get out at all, forced to watch Shin-tong marry Chi-yang. Seeing the scene where Chi-yang gently kissed Shin-tong at the end, Ji Jinchuan couldn't stand it any longer. He punched down the leading bodyguard and was about to rush out. 2 fists are no match for 4 hands. Let alone more than 4. Ji Jinchuan was stopped by the bodyguards. Assistant Shu walked up to him and said, "President Ji, President Chi instructed that you should rest well first. After the wedding, he will come to see you." Ji Jinchuan was held back by the bodyguards and couldn't move. No matter how unwilling he was, he had to compromise for the time being. He arrived in a hurry, without an assistant, and was completely passive. Ji Jinchuan glanced coldly at Assistant Shu, shook off the bodyguard, and slowly walked back to the living room. The wedding was over, and the TV screen went black. Ji Jinchuan sat on the leather sofa, looking at the clear sky outside the French window, his eyes as dark as ink. After the standard wedding procedures concluded, Shin-tong changed out of her heavy wedding dress, put on a formal gown, and greeted relatives and friends with Chi-yang. Shin-tong, arm in arm with Chi-yang, walked up to her parents, a hint of shyness in her eyes. Mom and Dad, in these 7 years, she hadn't been home much, nor had she contacted her parents often. Seeing them again now, she couldn't help but feel a bit estranged. No one knows a daughter like her mother, and Shin's mother immediately understood Shin-tong's thoughts. Mother Shin stepped forward, gently caressing Shin-tong's cheek, and said softly, "My daughter is so beautiful." Upon hearing this, Shin-tong's eyes instantly welled up, the corners of her eyes turning red, her throat choked. Unable to utter a single sound, with just this one sentence, the 7-year-old barrier hidden in Shin-tong's heart was completely shattered. Shin-tong felt a surge of soreness in her throat, stepped forward and hugged her mother, her tone carrying a hint of coquetry. "Of course, I am my mother's daughter." Parents who love their children plan far ahead for them. No one was wrong in that incident back then. The conflict only arose because everyone stood at different perspectives. Mother Shin often warned her daughter not to dwell on the past, but to focus solely on the future. Seeing how devoted Chi-yang is to Shin-tong now, she and Shin's father feel relieved. Shin's mother hugged Shin-tong and gently patted her shoulder. "All right, go and entertain the guests with Xiao Yang." Hearing this, Shin-tong stepped back from her mother's embrace. The corners of her eyes were still glistening with tears, and Shin's father raised his hand to gently wipe away the teardrops for her. "How old are you? Still crying?" Shin's father said this while looking at Shin-tong with satisfaction and affection. Shin-tong smiled embarrassedly. Chi-yang patted the hand she had linked with his, and raised his eyes to Shin's father and mother, saying, "Mom and Dad, don't worry, I will take good care of Shin-tong." Shin's father and mother nodded with satisfaction. After the 4 of them talked for a while, Chi-yang took Shin-tong to meet his parents. Shin-tong sweetly called out, "Dad, Mom." To Father Chi and Mother Chi, Mother Chi smiled and nodded, then took off the jade bracelet from her wrist, took Shin-tong's hand, and put it on her. This is a jade bracelet passed down through generations of the Chi family, reserved for the daughter-in-law. Now it's passed on to you. No member of the Chi family should ever be wronged outside. If anything happens, Talk to Xiao Yang and let him support you. The heavy jade bracelet on her wrist was the Qi family's recognition of Shin-tong. Shin-tong wasn't pretentious and generously replied, "Okay, thank you, Mom." Father Qi simply instructed Qi Yang a few words, telling him to treat Shin-tong well, and then left in a hurry. Mother Qi didn't care about Father Qi's departure and took Shin-tong and Qi Yang to exchange greetings with the Qi family. Shin-tong had heard Lin Ran mention that Qi Yang's parents had a business marriage and had no feelings for each other after marriage. After giving birth to Qi Yang, they began to do their own thing. Most couples in business marriages are like this, and no one finds it inappropriate. Profit always comes before feelings. The wedding didn't completely end until the afternoon. Shin-tong unconsciously leaned on him, her eyebrows faintly revealing fatigue. After all the relatives and friends had left, Qi Yang turned to Shin-tong and said, "Thank you for your hard work today. I'll have the secretary take you back to rest. I still have some things to take care of. I'll go back and keep you company after I'm done." Shin-tong nodded and agreed. "Okay, go ahead and get busy." Then she followed the secretary back to the bridal chamber. After Shin-tong's figure had completely disappeared, Qi Yang turned and walked towards Villa No. 3. Jiyu Jinchuan contacted his assistant and asked him to send someone to the island to meet him. Just as his patience was wearing thin, the villa door was pushed open, and Qi Yang walked in against the light. Qi Yang exuded the aura of a superior, something that Jiyu Jinchuan, who had grown up smoothly, did not possess. Jiyu Jinchuan's eyes held little warmth as he looked at Qi Yang, even carrying a hint of hostility. Qi Yang walked into the living room and sat down opposite Jiyu Jinchuan. "Mr. Jiyu has come from afar. Is there something the matter?" Jiyu Jinchuan's tone was unkind. "I'm here to find my girlfriend who ran away from home." Shin-tong, facing Jiyu Jinchuan's provocation, Qi Yang was not annoyed, and slowly said, "There is indeed a person here named Shin-tong, but she is my wife, not your girlfriend." Jiyu Jinchuan's voice involuntarily rose. "Qi Yang, stop playing dumb. Shin-tong and I haven't broken up yet. She's still my girlfriend, and I want to see her." Qi Yang's lips curled into a hint of sarcasm. "You keep saying Shin-tong is your girlfriend, but as far as I know, you've never publicly acknowledged it. So what? We've been together for 7 years. What are you?" Jiyu Jinchuan said dismissively. Upon hearing this, Qi Yang's expression remained unchanged, but his eyes grew a bit colder. "I don't care about Shin-tong's past, but her future can only have me." Jiyu Jinchuan was overwhelmed by Qi Yang's aura and was stunned for a moment, blinded by anger. He had forgotten that Qi Yang was not someone he could easily provoke. Those who opposed Qi Yang did not have good endings. Jiyu Jinchuan regained his senses, took a deep breath to suppress the anger in his heart, and spoke slowly. "Just one meeting is enough. I have something to ask her." Seeing Jiyu Jinchuan's sudden change in attitude, Qi Yang also softened his emotions. "Since President Jiyu has said so, I have no reason to refuse. If she agrees to see you, I will not stop her. If she doesn't agree, then I can't help it." As soon as he finished speaking, Qi Yang got up to leave, but Jiyu Jinchuan stopped him. "I want to see her now," Qi Yang said coldly. "President Jiyu must know what day it is today, right? Don't push your luck." After speaking, Qi Yang left the villa without looking back. Jiyu Jinchuan looked at Qi Yang's back, the anger in his eyes almost materialized, but he was helpless. Qi Yang left Villa No. 3 and returned to his marital home with Shin-tong. After returning from the wedding, Shin-tong ate a little something and went to sleep. She was still asleep when Qi Yang returned. Gently closing the door, Qi Yang turned to the housekeeper and instructed, "Prepare some food and bring it up when Madam wakes up." The butler nodded in agreement. "Yes, sir." Qi Yang turned and went to another room to shower and change. When Shin-tong woke up, it was already 8 o'clock in the evening. The small lamp on the bedside table emitted a warm yellow light. Shin-tong glanced at the time on her phone and exclaimed, "How could I have slept for so long?" A message from Qi Yang sent 3 hours ago popped up on her phone. "The housekeeper has prepared dinner. Come out and have something to eat when you wake up to fill your stomach." Seeing this, a warm current immediately flowed through Shin-tong's heart, putting down her phone. Shin-tong got out of bed and prepared to go downstairs for dinner. As soon as she opened the bedroom door, she saw Chi-yang sitting on the sofa in the bedroom living room, working. Chi-yang had changed into a set of home clothes and was wearing a pair of rimless glasses, sitting on the sofa working. Seeing this, Shin-chan slowed down her steps, afraid of disturbing him. When Chi-yang saw her come out, he put down his laptop, took off his glasses, and said, "Don't go downstairs. I'll have the butler bring dinner up." Shin-chan nodded upon hearing this, retracted her steps, and walked to the living room to sit on the single sofa. Chi-yang looked at the distance between the two and smiled softly. "Why are you so far away from me? I won't eat you." Shin-chan didn't expect Chi-yang to be so direct, and was a little caught off guard. "No, I just..." Chi-yang smiled, interrupting her flustered explanation at the right moment. "Okay, just kidding with you." After speaking, he paused for a moment, and then continued, "Jiyu Jinchuan is on the island. He said he wants to see you and has something to say to you. Do you want to see him?" Shin-chan was stunned, not expecting Jiyu Jinchuan to actually chase after her. After a moment of thought, she shook her head. "I won't see him. We've already broken up. There's nothing to talk about." "Okay, then he'll leave tomorrow." As soon as Chi-yang finished speaking, the butler pushed the dining cart and knocked on the door to come in. There was everything from Chinese to Western food. Shin-chan once again marveled at Chi-yang's thoughtfulness in her heart. The two chatted as they ate. After dinner, the two returned to the bedroom. Shin-chan had only slept for a few hours and was not sleepy at all at the moment, so she leaned against the headboard and read a magazine. Chi-yang came out of the bathroom after showering, walking towards her, a warm mist still lingering around him. Shin-chan watched Chi-yang approach slowly, her heart beating faster and faster, unable to focus on a single word in the magazine. Chi-yang lifted the blanket, got into bed, and leaned close to her, speaking softly. "Wife, is this magazine really that interesting?" Chi-yang was very close, and when he spoke, his warm breath sprayed onto Shin-chan's neck. Shin-chan's heart trembled, and her cheeks flushed slightly. "It's okay, but tonight is our wedding night. Are you sure you want to spend it with a magazine?" Chi-yang's deep voice fell into Shin-chan's ears, like a devil's whisper. They were both adults, so of course she understood what Chi-yang meant. Shin-chan wasn't a vegetarian either. Chi-yang had made it so clear, so naturally she couldn't pretend to be stupid anymore. She put down the magazine, turned to meet Chi-yang's deep eyes, raised her hand to cup his face, and said, "The wedding night certainly can't be taken lightly." As she spoke, Shin-chan took the initiative to kiss Chi-yang's lips. Although Shin-chan's actions were bold, her flushed ear tips had already betrayed her. Chi-yang smiled, reached out and clasped the back of her neck, taking the lead and pinning her beneath him. "I will definitely give you an unforgettable wedding night." The long night stretched on. The lights shone brightly. The glass of water by the bed rippled continuously, all night long. The next day, when Shin-chan woke up, she felt sore all over, as if she had been run over by a truck and couldn't muster any strength. As soon as she moved, a sharp pain shot through her lower back. At this moment, Chi-yang, holding breakfast, pushed the door open and walked in. Unlike Shin-chan's fatigue, Chi-yang looked refreshed. Shin-chan looked at Chi-yang with accusation in her eyes. Chi-yang placed the breakfast on the bedside table, then sat beside her and said softly, "I'm sorry, I didn't control my strength well. It won't happen next time." Upon hearing this, a blush immediately spread across Shin-chan's face. "Don't say any more." Chi-yang, watching the blush on her cheeks, laughed. "All right, I won't say it. Have some breakfast. Do you want me to feed you?" "No need, I can do it myself." As she spoke, Shin-chan propped herself up with her arms. But the movement was too large, and it pulled at her sore lower back again. Hiss! Seeing this, Chi-yang reached out and slowly helped her up, then picked up the bowl to feed her. Shin-chan took the bowl from Chi-yang's hand. "I can do it myself. I won't force you." Chi-yang said, "Okay, rest well today. Tomorrow, we'll set off for Tahiti and take you on our honeymoon. Will it affect your work?" Shin-chan asked. Chi-yang raised his hand and touched the top of Shin-chan's head, reassuring her, "No. It's all been taken care of. We have plenty of time. We can go wherever you want. Get some rest. I have one last thing to take care of, and I'll be right back." With that, Chi-yang turned and left the bedroom. As soon as he came downstairs, Assistant Shu greeted him. President Ji-yu is demanding to see the madam, Chi Yang said coldly. Ignore him, have someone send him away later. Okay, Assistant Shu acknowledged and turned to head to Villa No. 3. Ji-yu Jinchuan's expression turned extremely unpleasant upon hearing Assistant Shu's words. Tell Chi Yang that I won't leave until I see Shin-tong, President Ji-yu, the boat to take you away is waiting at the port. Please come with me. Assistant Shu's businesslike attitude only fueled the fire of anger in Ji-yu Jinchuan's heart. Just then, a message popped up on his phone. The assistant has arrived at the island, and the boat is docked at the port. Ji-yu Jinchuan put away his phone and said to Assistant Shu, my people are here, so I won't trouble President Chi any further. With that, he got up and walked out of the villa. Of course, it was impossible for him to leave just like that. He just wanted to buy time and find an opportunity to see Shin-tong. This seemed to have become his obsession. No matter what, he had to see Shin-tong, perhaps favored by the heavens. Ji-yu Jinchuan saw Shin-tong not long after leaving the villa. Shin-tong had regained some strength after finishing breakfast. Thinking of Chi Yang's mention of going on a honeymoon, she decided to find her best friend Lin Ran to discuss suitable honeymoon destinations. Lin Ran often travels to lesser-known places, those that are undeveloped by humans and have stunning natural landscapes. Compared to popular tourist spots, Shin-tong prefers these quiet places. But halfway there, she heard Ji-yu Jinchuan's familiar voice, Shin-tong. Shin-tong stopped and subconsciously looked back. Ji-yu Jinchuan strode towards her, and Assistant Shu quickly ordered the bodyguards to stop him upon seeing this. Before the bodyguards could get close, Ji-yu Jinchuan had already reached Shin-tong. Assistant Shu said to Shin-tong with an apologetic expression, I'm sorry, madam, it's my fault, I'll take President Ji-yu away now. Shin-tong waved her hand. No need, you can go back, now that they've met, there's no need to stop him. Shin-tong is also curious about what Ji-yu Jinchuan wants to say after coming all the way. Assistant Shu nodded in agreement and then left with the bodyguards. After they left, Ji-yu Jinchuan was able to look at Shin-tong. Just as he was about to speak, his eyes noticed the red marks on Shin-tong's neck and collarbone. Those red marks stung Ji-yu Jinchuan's eyes fiercely. His heart clenched suddenly, as if something was completely lost. Seeing Ji-yu Jinchuan standing there without speaking, Shin-tong frowned, following his gaze to see the marks exposed on her skin. Shin-tong calmly gathered her outer shirt, covering the red marks, and said coldly, Ji-yu Jinchuan, what exactly do you want to say? Hearing this, Ji-yu Jinchuan snapped back to reality. When he looked up again, his expression had returned to its usual aloofness. Only the slightly reddened corners of his eyes betrayed the emotions he was trying to hide. Ji-yu Jinchuan suppressed the stinging pain in his chest and slowly spoke, Shin-tong, whether it's real or fake, as long as you come back with me. I can pretend that these past few days never happened. Don't you want to marry me? Come with me now, and we'll register our marriage as soon as we get back. I'll give you an even more lavish wedding, so everyone will know that you are my wife, Ji-yu Jinchuan's wife. Shin-tong chuckled. Ji-yu Jinchuan, the message I sent you was very clear. We've broken up, and I'm married. Moreover, my husband is very good to me, and I don't want to have another wedding, understand? Listening to Shin-tong's words, Ji-yu Jinchuan felt a sharp pain spread through his heart. His eyes filled with resentment. He tried to find traces of lying on Shin-tong's face, but there were none. Shin-tong stood still, her gaze firm, allowing him to scrutinize her. Having been with Shin-tong for 7 years, Ji-yu Jinchuan had never seen her like this before. The man's pride wouldn't allow him to continue pestering her, so Ji-yu Jinchuan withdrew his gaze, adopting an indifferent attitude. If that's the case, then as you wish. I hope you won't regret it. With those words, Ji-yu Jinchuan turned and left. Shin-tong glanced indifferently in the direction Ji-yu Jinchuan left, then withdrew her gaze and continued walking forward. Ji-yu Jinchuan walked to the dock, where his assistant greeted him. Mr. Ji-yu, shall we depart now? Let's go. Having said that, Ji-yu Jinchuan stepped onto the deck and boarded the ship without looking back. Ji-yu Jinchuan stood at the bow of the ship, watching the island gradually shrink, his heart sinking. Shin-tong's words replayed in his mind, and the red mark on his neck lingered before his eyes. Various emotions surged into his heart. Ji Jinchuan raised his hand to his heart and muttered to himself, I clearly don't love her, so why does my heart ache so much? The ship sailed further and further away, the island slowly turning into a black dot, eventually disappearing from sight. The wet, salty sea breeze blew against Ji Jinchuan, yet he felt exceptionally comfortable. Letting the sea breeze caress his face, brushing away the bitterness in his heart, as soon as Ji Jinchuan arrived at the port and disembarked, he received a call from Tang Wn. Jinchuan, why did it take you so long to answer the phone? Where did you go? Tang Wn asked worriedly. Hearing Tang Wan's concern, Ji Jinchuan felt like he was back in reality, and the frustration he felt with Shin-tong instantly dissipated. Don't worry, I'll be back soon. As he said this, Ji Jinchuan kept telling himself that he loved Tang Wan, and that he was only going to see Shin-tong because he couldn't accept her deceiving him, nothing more. Tang Wan didn't ask further upon hearing this. When are you coming back? I'll pick you up at the airport. No need. I'll have the butler pick you up at Tan Palace. Just wait for me at home. For so long, only Shin-tong had lived in Tang Palace. Now that she's gone, Tang Palace will naturally welcome a new owner. Tang Wan on the other end of the phone was clearly stunned by Ji Jinchuan's words. She had hinted countless times before that she wanted to move into Tang Palace, but Ji Jinchuan either changed the subject or told her to wait. It made her feel very insecure. Always worried that Ji Jinchuan had really fallen in love with Shin-tong, it seems she won in the end. Coming back to her senses, Tang Wan immediately replied, Okay, I'll wait for you at home. After hanging up the phone, Ji Jinchuan and his assistant boarded the flight back to China. Sitting on the plane, looking at the clouds outside the window, Ji Jinchuan still felt a sense of unreality. Recalling what he had done these days, he still found it absurd he would actually come to such a faraway place for Shin-tong. The 7 years with Shin-tong also felt like a dream, as if the memories of Shin-tong in his mind had been instantly cleared, and he couldn't remember anything. His mind was like a tangled ball of thread, impossible to unravel, a complete mess. Since he couldn't remember, he simply wouldn't think about it. Ji Jinchuan closed his eyes and began to sleep. The tension of the past few days finally eased at this moment. After discussing and deciding on a few suitable honeymoon destinations, Shin-tong took the iPad to find Qi Yang. Qi Yang was sitting on the villa's terrace reading a book, the breeze lifting the broken hair on his forehead. Revealing his delicate profile, mature yet with a touch of boyishness, Shin-tong watched this scene. Her heart skipped a beat, and the throbbing of her teenage years climbed back to her heart after many years. At this moment, Qi Yang also noticed Shin-tong standing at the door. Seeing her staring at him, he asked, Why don't you come in? Shin-tong felt embarrassed being caught eavesdropping. She composed herself, walked up to Qi Yang, and handed him the tablet in her hand. I think these places are also very suitable for a honeymoon. What do you think? Qi Yang took the tablet and flipped through the travel guide that Shin-tong and Linran had made together. Malta, Slovenia, Estonia, sure. Whatever you like. Getting the marriage certificate and wedding are too rushed, leaving you with little involvement. I can only make it up to you with the honeymoon. Shin-tong met Qi Yang's sincere gaze, her ears quietly turning red. She's clearly past the age of budding romance, so why is she still uncontrollably drawn to Qi Yang? She put away the tablet and sat on the lounge chair next to Qi Yang to calm her emotions. Qian closed the book in his hand and put it aside. Looking at Shin-tong, when you worked as a travel customizer before, you must have been to many places. This honeymoon trip should be very different with you around. Qian has a face that keeps strangers away, but every time he speaks, he makes Shin-tong's face flush and her heart race. In order not to be affected by Qian, she had to constantly recall the places she had traveled to in her mind. It's good that you trust me. So, after Tahiti, let's go to Malta. I've been there many times and know a lot of hidden gems that others don't. I'll take you to check them off one by one, and I guarantee you'll have a different experience. And this. Shin-tong was eloquent, throwing all the awkwardness just now behind her when she talked about travel-related matters. Qi Yang listened carefully to Shin-tong's explanation, slowly being attracted to her. As Shin-tong described, he could actually outline the picture she painted in his mind. Qi Yang was gradually attracted by the confidence in Shin-tong's eyes, a confidence that came from the heart, an absolute certainty about herself, due diligence. Including investigating the other party's background is an essential step before a marriage between wealthy families, and Qi Yang was no exception. When reviewing Shin-tong's profile, Qi Yang was impressed by her excellence. She was a top student in school, proficient in various outdoor sports such as horseback riding, archery, and rock climbing, and most importantly, she was fluent in 10 languages, with the added advantage of being the eldest daughter of the Shin family. It's no wonder many people sought a marriage alliance with them. Qi Yang was slightly shocked when he saw Shin-tong leave home due to dissatisfaction with family rules. When Shin-tong went to Shanghai, she was penniless and refused help from friends, relying on her own efforts to find a job she liked. She likes to travel and speaks multiple languages, using this to maximize her strengths. So when Qi Yang learned that his marriage partner was Shin-tong, he did not refuse, but nodded in agreement after a little thought. Shin-tong's career was thriving, but her love life was full of thorns. Ji Jinchuan was playful and, after being with Shin-tong, although he brought her home, he did not make her identity public. In the 7 years they were together, Ji Jinchuan returned home only a handful of times. Even so, Shin-tong still chose to be with him, but fortunately she later woke up in time and chose to leave, pulling back his thoughts. Qi Yang looked at Shin-tong with a hint of appreciation in his eyes. It was both affirmation and gratitude, grateful that he had married Shin-tong. After explaining the honeymoon, Shin-tong belatedly realized that she had said too much, unconsciously treating Qi Yang as a client. She put away the tablet and apologized to Qi Yang. I unconsciously went back to work mode, sorry. Qi Yang smiled and shook his head. It's nothing, I think you described it very well. Just listening to it makes me feel like I'm there. I'm really looking forward to this trip. After being affirmed by Qi Yang, Shin-tong felt a hint of elation in her heart. Everyone likes to be praised, and Shin-tong is no exception. After the joy, Shin-tong suddenly remembered accidentally bumping into Ji Jinchuan just now, so she looked up at Qi Yang and said truthfully, I ran into Ji Jinchuan on the road just now. He said a lot of inexplicable things to me. I sent him away. If he shows up again in the future, tell me in advance so I can avoid him. Out of sight, out of mind. Assistant Shu had informed Qi Yang as soon as the incident occurred. Originally, Qi Yang thought that Shin-tong would not tell him. After all, this was her private matter. He didn't expect Shin-tong to take the initiative to say it, and when she said this, her expression was very calm, without a trace of nostalgia. This surprised Qi Yang very much. He thought that Shin-tong and Ji Jinchuan had been together for 7 years, and a sudden breakup would definitely make her feel sad and reluctant. But in Shin-tong's eyes, there were none of these emotions, only a calm statement of facts, as if Ji Jinchuan was an unfamiliar stranger to her. After Shin-tong finished speaking, she waited for Qi Yang's reaction. Under her gaze, Qi Yang nodded. Okay, feel free to ask for anything else, I'll help you solve it. This feeling of having someone to back you up was really good. Shin-tong smiled lightly. Not for now, I'll tell you if I think of anything later. With that, she stood up, ready to return to her room. The movement of getting up was a bit too much, and the outer robe that was draped over her shoulders slipped down, revealing the red marks on her neck and collarbone. Seeing this, Qi Yang's Adam's apple bobbed, and he felt a surge of heat in his chest. Remembering the sight of Shin-tong struggling to get up this morning, Qi Yang hesitated and asked, Is your back still sore? Is there anything else that feels uncomfortable? Hearing Qi Yang's words, Shin-tong instantly recalled his awkwardness in front of him this morning. He subconsciously picked up a pillow from the lounge chair and threw it at Qi Yang, his face full of shyness. Qi Yang, how dare you even mention it? Qi Yang smiled and caught the pillow, then quickly spoke to appease the flustered Shin-tong. Okay, I won't mention it anymore. I'll give you a massage tonight as an apology. Okay, Shin-tong's face turned even redder upon hearing this. I don't want that, you're not allowed to touch me tonight. Having said that, she fled into the villa as if escaping. Qi Yang held a smile in his eyes, a feeling he couldn't name rising in his heart. It was the feeling of being moved, something he hadn't felt in a long time. The relationship between the two seemed to have grown closer in this playful banter. The relatives and friends who attended the wedding left on the same day it ended. Only Lin Ran couldn't bear to leave such a beautiful island and planned to stay for a few more days. As Shin-tong and Chi-yang left the island, Lin Ran was sunbathing, waving and smiling at them. "Tong, you and President Chi have fun, and strive to let me be promoted to godmother when you come back." Hearing Lin Ran's words, Shin-tong couldn't wait to find a hole to crawl into, and hurriedly pulled Chi-yang onto the boat. Fearing that Lin Ran would say something outrageous again, the ship quickly left the island, and Shin-tong sat on the deck, feeling the salty sea breeze, in a very happy mood. She now seemed to be back 7 years ago, to that carefree time of freely spending her youth. At this moment, Chi-yang came up behind her and draped a shawl over her shoulders. "It's windy, be careful not to catch a cold." The shawl was very warm, and it warmed her heart directly from her shoulders. Chi-yang's gentleness and consideration made her unable to resist falling for him. But even if Chi-yang was good to her, she didn't dare to give her heart again. The 7 years she spent with Jiyu Jinchuan made her afraid to believe in love again. What's more, they were only in a business marriage. She was afraid that she would fall in love with Chi-yang, but Chi-yang would be as indifferent to her as Jiyu Jinchuan was. When Jiyu Jinchuan was good to her, he was truly good, but when he hurt her the most deeply. Now that Chi-yang is good to her, she accepts it all. If he's not good to her, she doesn't complain. After all, Chi-yang gives her much more than Jiyu Jinchuan ever did. Having figured this out, Shin-tong became more open when interacting with Chi-yang. Shin-tong gathered her shawl around her shoulders and turned to thank Chi-yang. "Thank you, husband, it really is a bit cold. I'm going back inside the cabin." With that, Shin-tong turned and left the deck, heading back to the cabin. Chi-yang stood there, stunned, his ears filled with Shin-tong's words, "Thank you, husband." Although he didn't know why Shin-tong's attitude had changed so much all of a sudden, he was still very happy that she called him that. He originally thought that after the marriage, his relationship with Shin-tong would be as cold and distant as his parents'. He was prepared for Shin-tong to treat him coldly, but who knew that Shin-tong would not play by the rules and was completely different from what he had imagined. This made Chi-yang start looking forward to the life ahead. After Chi-yang and Shin-tong left the island and arrived in Seattle, they boarded a private plane arranged by Chi-yang and flew directly to Tahiti. The scenery in Tahiti is even more beautiful than in Seattle, with crystal clear water that reflects a charming light under the sun. Shin-tong put on diving gear and took Chi-yang into the sea to see the coral. Since becoming an adult, Chi-yang had never enjoyed a vacation, let alone traveled. This honeymoon trip was just to make it up to Shin-tong. He thought they would just casually visit a few attractions and have some fun. He didn't expect that along the way, Shin-tong would have constant surprises. She planned everything so well. Chi-yang had never looked forward to tomorrow like he did now. Looking forward to the next leg of the trip, the original half-month honeymoon trip was extended to a full month by Chi-yang. After so many years, he should give himself a break too. So, for this past month, Shin-tong took him all over the world, taking photos and checking in at each place, and making souvenirs by hand. Shin-tong used to do these things by herself, but now that there's someone by her side, it doesn't feel so bad. As the journey deepened, the two grew closer and became more familiar with each other, and everything was developing in a positive direction. But on the other side, Jiyu Jinchuan was just the opposite. Since Jiyu Jinchuan returned from Seattle, he had been absent-minded every day. After Tang Wn moved into the Tan Palace, she changed the original decoration layout and completely erased the traces of Shin-tong's existence. Jiyu Jinchuan knew Tang Wan's actions, and although he felt a little uncomfortable, he didn't say anything. He returned from Seattle and landed in Shanghai on the same night as Tang Wn moved into the Tan Palace for the first time. Tang Wn personally cooked a table full of dishes for Jiyu Jinchuan, all of which he loved. The food was delicious, but Jiyu Jinchuan found it tasteless. "Jinchuan, this 8 treasure chicken is your favorite. Try it quickly." As she spoke, Tang Wn placed a piece of chicken into Jiyu Jinchuan's bowl while picking up food. She inadvertently revealed the red marks on the back of her hand where she had been splattered with oil. Ji Jinchuan naturally noticed and immediately asked the housekeeper to bring the medicine kit to apply ointment to Tang Wen. You can leave these things to the servants. Why do you have to do it yourself? Tang Wen pursed her lips and slowly said, It's different. What I'm making isn't just food, it's my longing for you. I couldn't contact you for so long, and I was very worried about you. Hearing this, Ji Jinchuan paused for a moment while applying the medicine. Next time I go somewhere, I'll definitely tell you in advance, so you don't worry. Only after hearing Ji Jinchuan say this did Tang Wen feel relieved. She smiled, threw herself into Ji Jinchuan's arms, and murmured, Jinchuan, I missed you so much. Ji Jinchuan gently patted Tang Wan's back, then pushed her away. I'm a little tired, I'm going upstairs first. If there's anything missing in your room, just tell the housekeeper. With that, Ji Jinchuan turned and left, going upstairs to his room. Tang Wen watched Ji Jinchuan's back, her eyes full of resentment. She didn't believe Ji Jinchuan hadn't understood her hint, but he had pushed her away, seemingly not wanting to be close to her at all. Looking at the untouched food on the table, Tang Wen became even angrier and simply returned to her room as well. Ji Jinchuan didn't stay in the same room as Tang Wen, only arranging for her to stay in the guest room, while he himself still stayed in the master bedroom he had shared with Shin-chan. After taking a shower, he changed into a silk robe and lay on the bed, ready to rest, but he just couldn't fall asleep. His body was clearly exhausted, but as soon as he closed his eyes, his mind was filled with Shin-chan's image. He subconsciously reached out to his side, but grasped at nothing. Ji Jinchuan stared at the empty space beside him. Momentarily lost in thought, a knock on the door pulled Ji Jinchuan back from his memories. He got up and opened the door, only to see Tang Wen standing there in a wine-red slip dress, holding a bottle of red wine in her hand. Ji Jinchuan was taken aback. What's wrong? Tang Wen shook the red wine in her hand and smiled faintly. Can't sleep, want to have a drink together. The suspender nightdress perfectly outlined her figure, her eyes were alluring, their eyes met in the air. Ji Jinchuan's throat tightened involuntarily, and he stepped aside to make room. Okay, the Petrus red wine slowly flowed down the glass, but Ji Jinchuan's attention was not on the wine, but on the person pouring it. Tang Wen noticed Ji Jinchuan's direct gaze, and a look of determination flashed in her eyes. She raised the goblet in her hand and gently touched the glass in front of Ji Jinchuan. The crisp sound of glasses clinking together. Tang Wen picked up her glass, took a light sip, her fair neck tilted slightly, revealing a beautiful curve. Ji Jinchuan was a normal man, and with such a beauty before him, he naturally couldn't remain unmoved. His Adam's apple bobbed, and the next second he reached out to pull Tang Wen up, encircling her in his arms. Tang Wen exclaimed in surprise, spilling most of the red wine from her glass, soaking her nightgown and staining Ji Jinchuan's eyes red. Ji Jinchuan lowered his head and kissed Tang Wan's lips, the sweetness of the red wine filling their mouths. Tang Wen took the initiative to wrap her arms around Ji Jinchuan's neck, deepening the kiss. Ji Jinchuan's hand moved under the hem of her skirt, but he paused as he was about to take further action. Tang Wen sensed something was wrong and asked, Jinchuan, what's the matter? He withdrew his hand and gently pushed Tang Wen away. I'm a little tired, you should go back first. Tang Wen froze instantly. Ji Jinchuan clearly had feelings for her, but he stopped himself and even wanted to send her away. Unwilling to give up, she hugged Ji Jinchuan even tighter. But you clearly... Ji Jinchuan didn't wait for Tang Wen to finish speaking before removing her hand from his shoulder, the desire in his eyes fading, his tone devoid of warmth. I don't want to repeat myself. Tang Wen met Ji Jinchuan's cold gaze and slowly withdrew her hand. Her repeated attempts to show goodwill were met with Ji Jinchuan's disdain. Tang Wen lost her patience, got off Ji Jinchuan's lap, said nothing, and turned to leave. The door slammed shut, and the room fell silent instantly. Ji Jinchuan sat in front of the French window, looking at the dark night sky. His brows furrowed with annoyance. He picked up the red wine on the table and drank it all in one gulp. He clearly had feelings for Tang Wen, but the moment his hand touched her skin, Shin-tong's image flashed in his mind. At the same time, a voice in his heart told him not to do it, that Shin-tong would be sad if she knew. Reason prevailed, so he sent Tang Wn away, but after he came to his senses, he realized that Shin-tong was already married, and even if she knew, she probably wouldn't be sad. Over the 7 years together, such incidents were not uncommon. In the beginning, Shin-tong would argue with him about these things, but later, for some reason, Shin-tong stopped caring about them. He used to think it was because Shin-tong had become sensible, but he didn't expect it was because Shin-tong no longer loved him. Because she didn't love him, she didn't care. Ji Jinchuan drank glass after glass of red wine, trying to drive away the ache in his heart. The next day, he was awakened by the morning sun. He woke up to find himself asleep on the carpet in front of the French window. His temples throbbed, and his brain ached dully. When he went downstairs, Tang Wn, dressed in a sky blue uniform, was sitting in the dining room eating breakfast. Tang Wn only glanced at Ji Jinchuan indifferently before withdrawing her gaze. The humiliation of last night was still vivid in her mind. Tang Wn held a breath in her heart, not wanting to be in the same space as Ji Jinchuan. She got up, picked up the boarding case next to her, and prepared to leave, but was stopped by Ji Jinchuan. Although Tang Wn was angry in her heart, she didn't show it on her face. Is something the matter? If it's not urgent, let's talk when I get back. I have to catch a flight. Ji Jinchuan knew that Tang Wn was still angry about what happened last night. What he did was indeed wrong. Tang Wn was his first love and the first woman he loved, so he was naturally willing to be more patient with her. Ji Jinchuan softened his tone. I was wrong last night. I apologize. I haven't been feeling well lately. Once I adjust, I'll come back and fly the same flight with you. Since Ji Jinchuan offered a way out, Tang Wn had no reason not to take it, and she smiled lightly. Let's not mention what's past. I'll wait for you to come back and fly a flight with me. I'm running late. I have to go. With that, Tang Wn stood on tiptoe and placed a light kiss on Ji Jinchuan's lips, then dragged her suitcase away. Ji Jinchuan stood there dumbfounded, the warmth of Tang Wn still lingering on his lips. He just didn't know why. But a strange sense of disgust inexplicably rose in his heart. Subconsciously raising his hand to wipe the spot Tang Wn had just kissed, he turned and went upstairs to take a shower. After this day, Ji Jinchuan forced himself not to think about Shin-tong. Although he was displeased when he saw Tang Wn changing the layout of Tan Palace, he didn't stop her. It was as if changing the layout could erase Shin-tong's influence on him. This day, Ji Jinchuan sat in the study working. Tang Wn knocked on the door and walked in. Jinchuan, do you still want that box of things in the corner of the walk-in closet? What things? Ji Jinchuan asked. Tang Wn thought for a moment and replied, some clothes and accessories, some of which haven't been opened yet. Upon hearing this, Ji Jinchuan suddenly remembered that it was a gift from Shin-tong. He wanted to say just throw them all away, but the words caught in his throat. I'll go take a look. With that, he put down the documents in his hand and got up to go to the cloakroom. The gifts Shin-tong gave him were carelessly tossed in a box. Ji Jinchuan bent down to pick up one of the small boxes, opening it to reveal an exquisite brooch. The diamonds on it sparkled with dazzling light, clearly chosen with care. In the past, he had looked down on the things Shin-tong bought, thinking that she was just a tour guide, and the gifts she bought would naturally not be expensive. They must all be handicrafts she bought locally while traveling, not suitable for formal occasions, so he had never opened them, nor had he ever taken them out. Now that I open it, I realize Shin-tong's thoughtfulness. Even a small brooch is so exquisite, she must have put a lot of thought into choosing it. Ji Jinchuan put away the brooch and returned it to its original place, turning to Tang Wn and saying, leave it there. I bought it before and forgot to open it. I'll sort it out tonight. Tang Wn asked, puzzled, wouldn't it be fine to just give it to the servants? Ji Jinchuan shook his head. No need. Seeing his insistence, Tang Wn didn't press further, turning to lead the servants to tidy up the other rooms. After finishing his work, Ji Jinchuan went to the cloakroom to organize the gifts Shin-tong had given him. He took out the items inside, opening them one by one and placing them neatly. Suit, tie, cufflinks, trench coat chain, each piece is exquisite. Showing the giver's thoughtfulness, he should have thrown all these things away, but for some reason, he just couldn't bring himself to do it, as if throwing away these gifts would completely sever his connection with Shin-tong. After neatly putting the items away, Ji-yu Jinchuan walked out of the cloakroom. In the days that followed, Ji-yu Jinchuan continued to fly various routes with Tang Wn. Just as he always had, Shin-tong and Chi-yang's month-long round-the-world honeymoon was also drawing to a close. Their last stop was Semporna. When it was time to leave Semporna, Chi-yang felt a little reluctant. This month of honeymoon was arguably the happiest time he had ever spent. Although Chi-yang hid his emotions well, Shin-tong still noticed, on the flight from Semporna back to Beijing. Shin-tong held Chi-yang's hand and said, "It's too late this time. But next time I'll take you to Rovaniemi to see the Aurora Borealis. The aurora there is especially beautiful, you'll definitely love it." Hearing this, a warm current flowed through Chi-yang's heart. They say that travel is the best way to test a relationship. During this trip, whether in terms of personality or preferences, he and Shin-tong were surprisingly compatible. Their relationship gradually warmed up. From the initial unfamiliarity and alienation to the current passionate love, like a couple deeply in love, Chi-yang held Shin-tong's hand back, with a smile in his eyes. "Okay, I look forward to it." As soon as he finished speaking, Shin-tong heard a familiar female voice from beside him. "Hello, I am the chief flight attendant for this flight, and I will be at your service throughout the journey. For breakfast, would you prefer Chinese or Western?" "For Chinese, we have." But she stopped halfway through her sentence. Shin-tong looked up and happened to meet Tang Wan's shocked eyes. The flight attendant serving first class today had an emergency, so Tang Wn had to fill in. However, she never expected to run into Shin-tong. She really wanted to ask Shin-tong why he was here, but she was at work, and her professional ethics wouldn't allow her to do so. Tang Wan composed herself and continued to introduce the in-flight meals to Chi-yang and Shin-tong. Chi-yang glanced at Tang Wan's face and remembered who she was, Ji-yu Jinchuan's first love, with whom he broke up due to his affair. After Tang Wn finished introducing the meals, Chi-yang turned to look at Shin-tong. "Which one would you like to eat?" Shin-tong pondered for a moment and replied, "Chinese, I guess." "2 Chinese sets," Chi-yang said to Tang Wn. Tang Wn nodded with a smile. "Okay, please feel free to ask if you need any other service. I won't disturb you two any further." With that, Tang Wn turned and left. Since Tang Wn is serving on this flight, the captain must be Ji-yu Jinchuan. Thinking of this, Shin-tong felt only vexation. How could the world be so small? With so many flights, how could she have encountered the two people she least wanted to see? Seeing Shin-tong's unhappiness, Chi-yang reached out and pulled her into his arms. "What's wrong? Tired from last night?" Hearing this, Shin-tong glared at Chi-yang playfully, then reached out and slapped him. "Do people outside know that the famous President Xi is so improper in private?" Chi-yang took her hand and kissed it gently. "Others don't need to know, you just need to know." Shin-tong's earlobes turned slightly red. She stopped looking at Chi-yang and snuggled into his arms, finding a comfortable position to lie down. Chi-yang took the opportunity to reach out and wrap Shin-tong in his arms, the ebony scent on his body instantly enveloping her. Shin-tong slowly relaxed and fell asleep without realizing when. When she woke up again, the plane had 1 hour left before arriving in Beijing. She ate a little something to fill her stomach and then waited for the plane to land. An hour later, landed in Beijing. After getting off the plane, Chi-yang and Shin-tong went directly through the VIP channel. At the same time, Ji-yu Jinchuan and his party got off the plane, preparing to go to the hotel to rest. Ji-yu Jinchuan, in a white uniform, walked at the front, with Tang Wn beside him. Just then, Ji-yu Jinchuan saw Shin-tong and Chi-yang preparing to get into a car and leave. He didn't have time to think and immediately started to chase after them. But as soon as he moved, Tang Wn grabbed his wrist. "Jinchuan, this is the airport." Hearing this, Ji-yu Jinchuan stopped and instantly regained his senses. By the time he looked again, the two had already left. He didn't know what was wrong with him just now. The moment he saw Shin-tong, he couldn't help but want to get closer. Ji-yu Jinchuan retracted his gaze, composed himself, and continued forward. The accompanying crew members went to the hotel to rest, while Ji Jinchuan took Tang Wn to his residence in Beijing, Shishan Meilu. After this flight, Ji Jinchuan will no longer undertake any flying missions this year. As the heir to new aviation, he has always been reluctant to take over the company. The reason is the same as with marriage. Ji Jinchuan felt he was still young and wanted to play around for a few more years, but ever since Shin-tong left, he suddenly felt like he'd had enough and lost interest in everything. Coupled with his family's urging, he took the opportunity to end his flight mission and prepare to take over the company. This trip to Beijing is to attend a charity auction. Tang Wan, as his female companion, will attend with him. Upon arriving at the West Mountain Villa, the villa's butler came out with a group of servants to greet them. After handing the luggage to the servants, Ji Jinchuan went upstairs to take a shower and rest. This was Tang Wan's first time at this villa, and the butler was showing her around. Meanwhile, after Qi Yang and Shin-tong came out of the airport, the driver drove them back to their marital home, Building 11, Yihaoan Villa. Upon arriving home, the housekeeper came out to greet them. After Qi Yang went upstairs to change his clothes, he prepared to go out. Seeing this, Shin-tong asked, "Aren't you going to rest for a bit?" Qi Yang explained, "There's an urgent meeting to attend. You rest well. There's a charity auction in 3 days, and a designer will come over later to help you choose a dress. I'll be leaving now." With that, Qi Yang kissed Shin-tong on the corner of her lips and left with his assistant. Shin-tong was already used to Qi Yang's occasional kisses and hugs. They were husband and wife, after all. So it was normal. Moreover, Shin-tong didn't reject Qi Yang's closeness. She really liked the feeling of being valued. The designer and stylist arrived together, the living room filled with gowns from various brands. The stylist selected a burgundy satin strapless gown based on Shin-tong's preferences and figure, paired with a Cartier teardrop diamond necklace and diamond ring, enhancing her aura without losing her own personal style. Shin-tong was very satisfied with this look. She also chose a suit for Qi Yang that matched her own gown. That touch of red on the notch lapel suit, Shin-tong liked it very much. It matched her dress perfectly. After choosing the dress, Shin-tong asked the butler to prepare the car. She was going home to take a look. The Shin family is located in a courtyard house next to the Forbidden City. The furnishings in the house were still the same as before. Knowing that their daughter was coming back, Shin's father and mother went home early to prepare a table full of dishes. Shin-tong had dinner at home, and after Qi Yang got off work, he came to the Shin family to pick her up, and they went home together. Even after getting married, nothing has changed, and Shin-tong is very satisfied with her current life. Time flies. On the day of the auction, Qi Yang and Shin-tong changed into their formal attire and set off for the hotel hosting the charity auction. Meanwhile, Ji Jinchuan and Tang Wn also set off for the auction. The two cars arrived at the hotel at the same time, and after getting out of the cars, the four people's eyes met in the air. Ji Jinchuan and Tang Wan were filled with shock the moment they saw Shin-tong. Shin-tong's expression was normal. She didn't even give them a look, and walked into the hotel. Ji Jinchuan's heart clenched when he saw Shin-tong, and his throat tightened as well. When Tang Wn saw Shin-tong, a trace of unease suddenly rose in her heart for some reason, especially after seeing Ji Jinchuan staring at Shin-tong's back. The unease in her heart instantly magnified. "Jinchuan, let's go in." Tang Wn tugged at Ji Jinchuan's arm, forcibly drawing his attention back. Ji Jinchuan snapped out of his thoughts and nodded. "Okay." Shin-tong and Qi Yang sat in the front row. Ji Jinchuan and Tang Wan's seats were in the middle, not far apart, so Ji Jinchuan could see Shin-tong's every move very clearly. After everyone was seated, the auction officially began. The auctioneer took the stage and began introducing the items for auction. Qi Yang turned to Shin-tong and said, "Bid on anything you like." "Okay." Shin-tong nodded in agreement. Before coming, she had already set her sights on a full jadeite necklace, determined to win it. At this moment, the auction item on stage was a diamond ring. The aquamarine diamond was set on a white gold base, making it extremely dazzling. Tang Wan was immediately drawn to the diamond ring and tugged at Ji Jinchuan's sleeve, saying, "Jinchuan, I want this diamond ring. Ji Jinchuan stared at the diamond ring on the stage, lost in thought. He suddenly remembered the fancy pink diamond ring that Shin-tong had worn at HW before. At the time, he thought Shin-tong was forcing marriage by buying a diamond ring. And he was angry about it for a long time. Now that he thinks about it, Shin-tong didn't have that idea at all at that time. She was just choosing a wedding ring with Qi Yang. Thinking of this, a sense of annoyance suddenly arose in Ji Jinchuan's heart. Tang Wan saw Ji Jinchuan staring blankly at the diamond ring on the stage and gently tugged at him. Jinchuan. Ji Jinchuan came back to his senses, took a deep breath, and then said to Tang Wan, "Okay, buy it if you like it." With that, Ji Jinchuan raised the bidding paddle in his hand and began to bid. Hearing Ji Jinchuan's bid, Shin-tong subconsciously turned her head and glanced at him. Meeting his eyes, Ji Jinchuan met Shin-tong's gaze, and his heart trembled. Then, a subtle hint of smugness flashed in his eyes, and he increased his bids even more aggressively. Finally, Ji Jinchuan won the diamond ring with a bid of 15 million. Seeing this, Tang Wan's eyes were filled with joy, and she couldn't help but raise the corners of her mouth. "Jinchuan, thank you." Ji Jinchuan didn't care, "as long as you like it." Although these words were spoken to Tang Wan, his eyes remained fixed on Shin-tong. Did Shin-tong just look back at him? Does that mean she still cares about the ring? Thinking this, Ji Jinchuan felt much better. In the following auction, Shin-tong bid for the jade necklace and some other jewelry, intending to give them to Shin's mother and Chi's mother. After the auction, everyone went to the banquet hall to attend the dinner. Shin-tong walked towards the banquet hall. As soon as they entered, someone came up to greet and strike up a conversation. Wave after wave, an endless stream. After a while, Shin-tong leaned in and whispered in Qi Yang's ear, "I'm going to the restroom first." Qi Yang nodded upon hearing this. Shin-tong let go of Qi Yang and walked towards the restroom. As soon as she came out of the restroom, she was pulled into the stairwell by a hand. The sound of the door closing was a bit loud, and the sound-activated lights in the stairwell suddenly turned on. Shin-tong took the opportunity to see the person in front of her clearly, Ji Jinchuan. She shook off Ji Jinchuan's hand and tried to walk past him. Ji Jinchuan blocked her way. "Shin-tong, don't go yet. I have something to say to you." He blocked the exit, and Shin-tong had no choice but to stop. "Say what you need to say quickly. My husband is still waiting for me outside." Ji Jinchuan was stunned, his brows furrowing even tighter. "Shin-tong, with your status, Qi Yang can't possibly be truly with you. These rich people change women faster than they change clothes. Believe me, I wouldn't lie to you. You should leave him as soon as possible, or you'll be the one who gets hurt in the end. I'll take you back to Shanghai. If you want to get married, we can register as soon as we get back. Whatever diamond ring you want, I'll buy it for you. That blue diamond from the auction, I'll have it delivered to you after the banquet, as our wedding ring." "Okay." Seeing that Shin-tong still looked at him expressionlessly, unmoved, Ji Jinchuan continued, "If you don't like that blue diamond, then choose the one you like. I'll buy it for you, as long as you come back with me." Shin-tong met Ji Jinchuan's gaze and slowly said, "What about Tang Wan?" Ji Jinchuan's body stiffened. He had seen Shin-tong alone just now, so he chased after her without thinking, completely forgetting about Tang Wan. Now that Shin-tong mentioned Tang Wan, Ji Jinchuan belatedly realized that he might not care about Tang Wan that much anymore. Thinking of this, Ji Jinchuan stepped forward, took Shin-tong's hand, met her gaze, and confessed, "Shin-tong, I only realized after you left that I had already fallen in love with you. Being with Tang Wan was just because of the unwillingness of my youth and the attachment to my first love. Don't worry, I'll explain everything to her later. The one I love is you, and the one I want to marry is you. Come with me." "Okay, Shin-tong." As she spoke, Shin-tong walked past Ji Jinchuan and pushed open the stairwell door, ready to return to the banquet hall. Ji Jinchuan grabbed her wrist again and said in a deep voice, "Shin-tong, the difference in social status between you and him is too great. Qi Yang's feelings for you won't be genuine. Believe me." Hearing this, Shin-tong said nothing, shook off Ji Jinchuan's hand, and left straight away. Back in the banquet hall, Shin-tong saw a beautiful woman talking to Qi Yang, whose expression was indifferent. Shin-tong saw the woman staring at Chi-yang without blinking, and that look was definitely not simple. Seeing this, Shin-tong quickened her pace unconsciously, walked to Chi-yang's side, and took his arm naturally. "Honey, I'm back." Chi-yang looked at Shin-tong's actions, a smile appeared on the corner of his mouth. He reached out and put his arm around her waist, and said to Shin-tong, "This is Miss Jiang, from the Jiang group, Jiang-yu." After speaking, he said to Jiang-yu, "Miss Jiang, let me introduce you, this is my wife, Shin-tong." Upon hearing this, Jiang-yu sized up Shin-tong, a hint of disdain curling at the corners of her lips. "As far as I know, Miss Shin used to work as a tour guide, right? I'm afraid such a background isn't quite qualified for the position of Mrs. Chi." With that, Jiang-yu smiled at Chi-yang. "President Chi, I believe we will be seeing each other again soon." Shin-tong wasn't one to be easily bullied either. After such provocation, she naturally couldn't tolerate it. Her gaze immediately turned cold. "Whether I'm qualified or not is not for an outsider like you to judge. I thought everyone attending a charity auction would be cultured, but I didn't expect." Shin-tong didn't say the rest of her words, but the contemptuous look she gave Jiang-yu said it all. Before Jiang-yu could speak, Chi-yang continued, "Instead of concerning yourself with my and my wife's relationship, Miss Jiang, perhaps you should pay more attention to your own company's tax issues." Having said that, Chi-yang gave Jiang-yu a polite smile and then left with Shin-tong. Humiliated, Jiang-yu naturally couldn't swallow her anger and shouted at their backs, "Chi-yang, she's just a tour guide, not good enough for you at all. You'll regret it one day." The two stood there. Hearing this, Shin-tong turned back and looked at Jiang-yu again. Just as she was about to speak, she heard the banquet host on stage say, "Today's auction has been so successful thanks to the support of all the bosses. We have received all the donations, but I want to announce a piece of good news. Miss Shin-tong, the daughter of Shin's group, has donated an additional 100 million yuan specifically to help girls in impoverished mountainous areas. Let us thank Miss Shin-tong for her donation." With that, the host took the lead in applauding, and the rest of the banquet hall followed suit. Jiang-yu looked at Shin-tong in shock. Equally shocked were Tang Wan and Ji-yu Jinchuan, who had just entered the banquet hall. Ji-yu Jinchuan stood there, stunned. Shinsha Group, Shin-tong, donated 100 million yuan. Ji-yu Jinchuan recognized each of these words individually, but put together, they felt completely foreign to him. He even thought to himself that someone must share the same name as Shin-tong. If Shin-tong were the daughter of the Shin family, why would she work as a tour guide and willingly be his secret lover for 7 years? Ji-yu Jinchuan kept deceiving himself, but the reality was right in front of him. All eyes were on Shin-tong, the air thick with murmurs. Those who knew Shin-tong were filled with emotion. "So that really is Shin-tong standing next to President Chi." Everyone said the Chi and Shin families were marrying. But I didn't believe it. It's actually true. I heard the eldest daughter of the Shin family ran away from home 8 years ago and hasn't shown her face much in Beijing circles for the past 7 years. It's normal that you don't recognize her. Those who didn't know Shin-tong began to inquire in hushed tones. "Shins, is it the Shins I know? How many people in Beijing are surnamed Shin?" Of course, the one who can take out 100 million is the Shin family in Beijing. I just didn't expect Miss Shin to be so generous. Her first appearance in 8 years, and she spends 100 million. The murmur of the crowd was endless, and Ji-yu Jinchuan only felt a trance. He knew of the Shin family in the capital, whose status in Beijing was no less than that of the Qi family, both being existences that could not be provoked casually. Shin-tong left home 8 years ago and worked alone in Shanghai. Later, she was with him, but she never mentioned her family. The only time she wanted to take him home, it ended in a breakup. At that time, there was no way he could have connected Shin-tong with the Shin family in Beijing. Even after learning that she had married Chi-yang, he never thought about it in that direction, simply because Shin-tong had hidden it so well during the 7 years she was with him, and her information was also very well protected. Thinking of how he had just been earnestly trying to persuade Shin-tong to divorce Chi-yang, Ji-yu Jinchuan felt like he was a complete joke. On the other side, Jiang-yu was so shocked that she couldn't form a coherent sentence. You actually are Shin-tong from the Shin family." Shin-tong smiled gently. That's right. Now, do you think I'm qualified enough, Miss Jiang? At this moment, Jiang Yu's back was covered in a layer of cold sweat, and her body trembled uncontrollably. She couldn't say another word. Qi Yang glanced at Jiang Yu indifferently, then put his arm around Shin-tong's waist and walked to the other side. Halfway there, Shin-tong tugged at Qi Yang's sleeve and whispered, "Qi Yang, do you think I'm being a bit petty?" Qi Yang smiled, his thumb caressing Shin-tong's waist, and said softly, "No, I like it." As he spoke, Qi Yang's eyes were full of smiles, and his tone did not seem fake. Shin-tong met his gaze, then quickly looked away, walked quickly to the dessert table in front of her, picked up a dessert at random and ate it, to cover up her wildly beating heart. At this moment, Jiyu Jinchuan and Tang Wn walked up to her. After learning Shin-tong's true identity, Tang Wn was stunned in place for a long time, unable to recover. She never dreamed that Shin-tong would be a member of the Shin family, or the Shin family's daughter, a veritable rich daughter. Thinking of how Jiyu Jinchuan had left her just now to chase after Shin-tong, she was now very flustered. Shin-tong's current status is more than a match for Jiyu Jinchuan, although she is married now. She was willing to stay by Jiyu Jinchuan's side for 7 years without any recognition, which shows her feelings for him. Now that her identity has been revealed and Jiyu Jinchuan can't let her go, what if they get back together? Wouldn't that mean she has no chance with Jiyu Jinchuan anymore? The more Tang Wn thought about it, the more unwilling she felt, so she walked up to Shin-tong as if possessed, ready to ask her clearly. Tang Wn had just stood in front of Shin-tong when Jiyu Jinchuan followed closely behind, also arriving in front of Shin-tong. Seeing this, Shin-tong immediately lost her appetite, put down the dessert in her hand, and turned to leave, but was stopped by the two. Jiyu Jinchuan and Tang Wn said in unison, "I have something to say to you." Qi Yang arrived just in time, took the opportunity to stand next to Shin-tong, looked at the two with unsightly expressions, and said, "May I ask what you two want with my wife? Why not tell me first?" Seeing this, Jiyu Jinchuan frowned. "President Qi, I would like to have a word with Shin-tong in private." Hearing this, Qi Yang turned to look at Shin-tong, only to see Shin-tong's face full of impatience. Qi Yang looked at Jiyu Jinchuan again. "Sorry, my wife doesn't feel like chatting with you two. I'll take my leave first." With that, he turned and left with Shin-tong. Jiyu Jinchuan was unwilling, but considering the status of the Qi and Shin families, he had to give up for the time being. Tang Wn was the same. Although her family background was similar to Jiyu Jinchuan's, that was years ago, and now that she was in Beijing, the Tang family was even less significant. The banquet continued, and Qi Yang took Shin-tong directly out of the banquet hall. Sitting in the back seat of the Rolls-Royce, Shin-tong shed her exhaustion and gently rested her head on Qi Yang's shoulder. Qi Yang naturally pulled her into his arms. "You must be tired. I should have taken you away sooner." Shin-tong shook her head, remembering Jiang Yu who had provoked her earlier, and couldn't help but ask, "What's the background of that Jiang Yu just now? Why would she say those things to you? Is she one of your past admirers?" As she said this, the jealousy in her words filled the entire car. Seeing this, Qi Yang felt very happy, knowing that Shin-tong was jealous, so he told the truth. "The Jiang family intended to arrange a marriage with me before, but I explicitly rejected them as soon as they approached me. But Jiang Yu didn't give up. Even after I told her I was married, she didn't believe it. The marriage between the two families was not ostentatious. People only knew that the marriage partner was the Shin family, but they didn't know if it was true or not. Those who were closer to them would definitely not question it, but most people still had doubts. After all, Shin-tong hadn't appeared in the Beijing circle for 8 years, and the news of her marriage to Qi Yang came as soon as she returned. For a while, everyone was still a little incredulous. After hearing this, Shin-tong sat up straight, remembering what Jiyu Jinchuan said in the stairwell, that her identity didn't match Qi Yang's. She thought for a while and suggested, "Then shall we make an official announcement? That way, no one will bother us or question us anymore, right?" Qi Yang nodded without hesitation and agreed, "Okay." As he spoke, he took out his phone and sent a message to his special assistant Shu. Before long, Shin-tong's phone chimed with message notifications, and her friends sent messages to congratulate her. Miss Shin is finally willing to make it official. That's you. Pulling off something big as soon as you're back. Her best friend, Lin Ran, sent several messages in a row. After all this time you've been married. Is only just now announcing your relationship. Thumbs down. Below is a screenshot of the Weibo hot search list. The #1 hot search is shockingly President Chi announces marriage. Shin-tong clicked on Weibo and immediately saw the content posted by the official Chi Corporation Weibo account. A wedding certificate photo and a faceless wedding photo. Caption: a harmonious union for 100 years, growing old together in love. The official Shin Corporation account immediately reposted. Happy wedding, Miss. Seeing this, a surge of joy welled up in Shin-tong's heart, and the corners of her lips couldn't help but turn up. Seeing Shin-tong looking at her phone, her happiness overflowing. Chi-yang felt happy too. Shin-tong logged out of Weibo and replied to Lin Ran, I didn't think about it that way before. Today, I saw someone trying to steal you from me right in front of my face, and I couldn't help but get angry, so I let him announce it. Lin Ran quickly replied, are you jealous? Shin-tong paused while typing when she saw Lin Ran's message. Jealous? She quietly turned her head to glance at Chi-yang, who was currently looking down at the report on his tablet. Noticing Shin-tong's gaze, Chi-yang looked up and asked, what's wrong? Shin-tong quickly shook her head. Nothing. You're busy. After saying that, she quickly lowered her head, pretending to be busy, but in reality, her heart was pounding. Is it that obvious? Lin Ran saw through it with just one sentence. Has Chi-yang also noticed? They've been together for less than half a year. Could it be that she's already fallen in love with Chi-yang? She had a good impression of Chi-yang before. After all, Chi-yang is handsome and treats her well. It's impossible for her not to be moved. But she kept telling herself not to fall in love with him easily, in case Chi-yang is like others, just playing around with her feelings, and she'll be the one who gets hurt in the end. But in the end, she couldn't help but fall for Chi-yang. The only thing certain was that her feelings for Chi-yang were different from those for Jiyu Jinchuan. Jiyu Jinchuan was the emotional crutch she had found for herself, while Chi-yang was liked without any ulterior motives. Shin-tong turned her head to look out the window. Her thoughts in a jumble. The Rolls-Royce stopped at the Summer Palace mansion. After getting out of the car, Shin-tong didn't wait for Chi-yang and walked into the villa first. Now, whenever she sees Chi-yang, her heart starts racing uncontrollably. She can only avoid him for now, to calm her emotions and sort out her thoughts. This has been going on for half a month. Chi-yang doesn't understand why Shin-tong has been avoiding him. Finally, one day after dinner, as Shin-tong prepares to go upstairs, he stops her first. Tong, why have you been avoiding me? Did I do something wrong to upset you? Shin-tong was momentarily speechless, unsure how to answer, and could only shake her head. No, it's my own problem. Seeing this, Chi-yang sighed softly. If you don't want to talk about it, then don't. If I do anything to upset you, tell me. Although our marriage is a business arrangement without a foundation of love, I have to admit that these past few months have made me develop different feelings for you. I hope we can continue on together. If I do anything wrong, you don't have to hold back. You can tell me directly. Hearing this, Shin-tong's heart skipped a beat. She didn't expect Chi-yang to be so direct. Was this a confession? Shin-tong froze in place, unsure how to react for a moment. Chi-yang stepped forward and embraced her, whispering in her ear, I have to go on a business trip for half a month and won't be around. When I get back, I want to know why you've been avoiding me. Okay. Shin-tong hugged Chi-yang back, inhaling the familiar ebony scent from his body, and nodded silently. After Chi-yang left on his business trip, Shin-tong didn't want to live alone in such a large villa, so she moved to Lin Ran's villa and lived with her. Upon learning that the two were living together, former friends made invitations one after another, saying they wanted to have a good get-together with Shin-tong. These friends were all childhood sweethearts who knew each other well and had a great relationship. Since Shin-tong came back, she hadn't had time to meet up, but now that she finally had the chance, she naturally wouldn't refuse. While gathering with friends, she also made sure to report her daily itinerary to Chi-yang. Chi-yang would also send her his itinerary. This was something they had agreed upon beforehand, so that even when they weren't together, they would know what the other was doing each day in order to maintain their relationship. This day, Shin-tong went shopping at SKP with Lin-ran. Shin-tong originally wanted to buy some seasonal clothes for herself, but as she browsed, her hand unconsciously reached for the menswear. Picking up a piece of clothing, she imagined Chi-yang wearing it in her mind. When she came back to her senses, the sales assistant was already holding more than a dozen pieces of menswear. 3 sales assistants followed behind her. The leading one smiled at Shin-tong and asked, "Miss, shall I wrap all of these up for you?" Shin-tong didn't hesitate and handed another jacket in her hand to the sales assistant, and this one, "Wrap them all up together." The sales assistant instantly beamed with joy. "Okay. Please wait a moment." Seeing this, Lin-ran couldn't help but tease, "I've never seen you put so much effort into buying clothes for yourself. Chi-yang's charm is really something." Teased by Lin-ran, Shin-tong generously admitted, "You're right, when I'm in love, I'll give it my all. When I'm not, I'll walk away immediately. I can't give up on love because of Ji-yu Jinchuan. After all, Chi-yang is different from him." Hearing this, Lin-ran smiled and nodded, "You've finally figured it out. It's not in vain that I, your love guru, have been advising you for so long." During this time, Shin-tong truthfully told Lin-ran her concerns. Lin-ran had been advising her for a long time, telling her that there is no pure love in their class. Since Shin-tong likes Chi-yang, she should let go and love him. Anyway, if love is lost in the end, there are still rights and interests, so she won't lose out no matter what. Shin-tong chose over a dozen sets of menswear for Chi-yang and bought herself a few outfits before leaving the mall with Lin-ran. As soon as they left the mall, Shin-tong received a call from an unknown number, which continued to call after she hung up. Seeing this, Lin-ran said, "Who is it? So persistent, why don't you answer it?" Shin-tong was also curious about who it was, so she answered the phone. "Hello, who is this?" A familiar voice came from the other end of the phone. It was Ji-yu Jinchuan. "Shin-tong. I'm in Beijing. Can I meet with you?" Ji-yu Jinchuan's tone carried a hint of pleading as he spoke. Shin-tong thought for a moment and nodded in agreement. "Okay, tomorrow at 10 in the morning. I'll send you the address." With that, she hung up the phone. Since the auction, Shin-tong's mind had been filled with Chi-yang, and she hadn't thought about Ji-yu Jinchuan at all. She didn't know what Ji-yu Jinchuan wanted to say to her, but she wanted to take this opportunity to make it clear to Ji-yu Jinchuan once and for all that she was married and naturally didn't want her ex-boyfriend to disturb her life often. "Who is it?" Lin-ran asked curiously. Shin-tong truthfully said, "Ji-yu Jinchuan. He said he wants to talk to me. You agreed to meet him. He wouldn't start pestering you after finding out your identity, would he?" Shin-tong shook her head. "No, I understand Ji-yu Jinchuan. He's not that kind of person. It's just as well. I also have something to say to him. So I'll take this opportunity to make everything clear once and for all, to prevent him from disturbing my life again." After hearing this, Lin-ran said nothing more. Knowing that Shin-tong was discreet in her actions and would not interfere, the two of them went to other shopping malls for a while, and then Lin-ran drove Shin-tong back to the Summer Palace mansion. After Shin-tong returned to Beijing, Shin's father couldn't wait for her to take over the company. Preparing to retire early and travel the world with Shin's mother, after relaxing with Lin-ran for a few days, it was time for Shin-tong to get back to work. Back at the villa, Shin-tong personally hung the clothes she bought for Chi-yang in the cloakroom, and after hanging them up, she took a photo and sent it to Chi-yang. "I bought you some clothes for the change of seasons. Want to try them on when you get back?" Chi-yang quickly replied with a voice message. "Okay, thank you, wife." The deep, husky voice came from the receiver. Shin-tong's heart trembled, and her earlobes quietly turned red. Taking a deep breath, I put away my phone, adjusted my mood, and turned to walk into the study to start working. Meanwhile, Chi-yang looked at the clothes Shin-tong had bought him in the photo, and the corners of his lips couldn't help but rise. After staring at it for a while, he put away his phone and boarded the plane with Assistant Shu, flying to the next business trip location. Coincidentally, Tang Wan was also on this flight. Tang Wan was slightly shocked when she saw Chi-yang, but she didn't appear in front of him. Only after getting off the plane did she stop him before he left the airport. "President Chi, Do you mind if I have a word with you? Seeing this, Assistant Shu stepped forward and blocked Tang Wn. Excuse me, Miss Tang, please step aside. Chi Yang didn't even look at Tang Wn. Heading straight for the van parked by the roadside, seeing that Chi Yang was about to leave, Tang Wn quickly said, President Chi, what I want to talk about concerns Shin-tong. Are you sure you don't want to hear it? Chi Yang paused, turned to look at Tang Wn, and after a long while, slowly said, Okay, I'm a little curious about what Miss Tang wants to say. Shu, take Miss Tang to Xiangya residence. After saying that, Chi Yang got into the car first and instructed the driver to go to Xiangya residence. After Chi Yang left, Assistant Shu took Tang Wn in another business car to Xiangya residence. Tang Wn first went to the hotel to change her clothes, and then went to the private room to find Chi Yang. After Tang Wn was seated, Chi Yang went straight to the point. Ms. Tang, please get straight to the point. I'm in a hurry. Tang Wn felt the pressure emanating from Chi Yang. She took a sip of the tea on the table to calm herself before saying, Mr. Chi, are you aware that Miss Shin lived in the Jin family for 7 years? Chi Yang's expression remained unchanged. His eyes narrowed slightly. Just say what you want to say. Tang Wn came to Chi Yang this time to let him know that Shin-tong was not perfect, that she had lived with a man for 7 years before marriage, which was no different from being married. She didn't believe that someone of Chi Yang's social class would willingly accept a woman who had lived with a man before marriage and directly seamlessly transitioned into a relationship. Tang Wn admitted that she was jealous of Shin-tong. Why did Shin-tong have such a good family background, and her marriage partner was so good and powerful to her? She just wanted to slander Shin-tong in front of Chi Yang, just to create a rift between the two. The former Tang Wn was definitely not like this. Perhaps in the past half-month or so, Jiyu Jinchuan had become increasingly indifferent to her, and she had become more and more insecure, and her mentality had also changed, bringing her thoughts back. Tang Wn raised her eyes to meet Chi Yang's gaze and said, I just didn't expect such a prominent figure like President Chi to accept a woman like that. Upon hearing this, Chi Yang's eyes grew even colder, but the faint smile remained on his lips. In our circle, everyone is the same before marriage. I don't care about her past, but her future will only have me. As for you, Tang Wn, I hope this is the last time I hear about my wife from your mouth, if there's a next time. I can't guarantee I'll still be able to sit here and listen to you so calmly. Also, keep an eye on your man, Jiyu Jinchuan. If he still can't forget my wife, I wouldn't mind making him disappear from this world. With that, Chi Yang got up and left. Tang Wn broke out in a cold sweat, her fingertips trembling as she held the teacup. Filled with regret, regaining her senses, Tang Wn flew back to Shanghai overnight, never daring to mention Shin-tong again. Chi Yang always meant what he said, and she couldn't let her selfish desires harm her family. The next day, Beijing, Jinwei Fang private room. When Shin-tong arrived, Jiyu Jinchuan had already ordered and was waiting for her. The moment he saw Shin-tong, a hint of joy flashed in Jiyu Jinchuan's eyes, a joy he didn't even notice himself. After she sat down, Jiyu Jinchuan pushed a plate of lychee pork towards her. Let's eat first, and we can talk while we eat. Shin-tong didn't move, and said directly, get straight to the point. I'm in a hurry. Jiyu Jinchuan paused with the chopsticks in his hand. Before, no matter how late I came home, you would wait for me. Now, you're not even willing to give me this little bit of time. You said it yourself. That was before, Shin-tong said lightly. Jiyu Jinchuan saw the impatience between Shin-tong's brows. So he put down his chopsticks and went straight to the point. I want to say that the person I truly love in my heart is actually you, not Tang Wn. For these past 7 years, I've been unwilling to admit my feelings for you and have done so many things to hurt you. I'm sorry. Listening to Jiyu Jinchuan's words, Shin-tong felt nothing in her heart. Jiyu Jinchuan, please be more mature. When you were with me, you were always thinking about Tang Wn. Now that Tang Wn is back, you neither clearly reconcile with her nor proactively break up with me. You just want to see us fighting over you, to highlight your charm. When you truly love someone, you can't bear to let her suffer even the slightest grievance. Jiyu Jinchuan, I have to say, You are really immature, and your love is also very unpresentable. I don't want to say too much. I don't want to bring these things up again in the future, like I told you before. You don't have to take my feelings for you seriously. I don't hate you that much. You were with me for 7 years and kept me from being so lonely. We don't owe each other anything. That's it." After saying that, Shin-tong also left. Ji Jinchwon called out to her, "Then why were you with me in the first place?" Shin-tong turned around, met his expectant gaze, and slowly said, "Because you looked handsome in uniform, and I just happened to need someone to provide some emotional value. We just took what we needed from each other, that's all." After speaking, Shin-tong ignored Ji Jinchwon's reaction and turned to leave. Ji Jinchwon looked at Shin-tong's back and smiled self-deprecatingly. As if all the strength in his body had been drained. In the end, everything was just his imagination. When Shin-tong looked at him, there was no ripple in her eyes. Ji Jinchwon knew that there was no possibility for them anymore, but he couldn't blame anyone but himself. After returning to Shanghai, Ji Jinchwon told Tang Wan that he had no feelings for her, and then broke up with her completely. He sold the Tan Palace, ended his job as a pilot, and began to take over the company, focusing all his attention on work, with no mood for love anymore. Finally, he moved overseas and spent the rest of his life alone. Tang Wan resigned from her position as chief flight attendant and returned to Los Angeles, disappearing without a trace. Meanwhile, on the day Chi Yang returned home from a business trip, Shin-tong left work early. Pushing open the door, she was greeted by a room full of roses. Following the path paved with roses, she reached the living room and saw Chi Yang standing in the midst of the flowers. Chi Yang walked up to her with a smile, led her to the center, and then knelt on one knee, taking out a ring from his pocket and holding it up to her. "Shin-tong, will you marry me?" The tenderness in Chi Yang's eyes threatened to drown Shin-tong. A faint blush crept onto Shin-tong's cheeks. "Aren't I already married to you?" Chi Yang shook his head. "We were different then than we are now. I want to ask, now, will you marry me?" Shin-tong understood Chi Yang's meaning instantly and reached out her hand. "I do." After receiving the affirmative answer, Chi Yang's eyes crinkled with laughter as he placed the ring on Shin-tong's ring finger, then stood up and embraced her. "Shin-tong, thank you for coming into my life. Thank you for agreeing to marry me. Thank you for letting me find a reason to live, having witnessed too many dark sides of humanity since childhood." Chi Yang was once somewhat world-weary and had even contemplated leaving this world before meeting Shin-tong, but the moment he saw Shin-tong, all those thoughts vanished, and he couldn't explain why. In short, he found the meaning of living, which was to be with Shin-tong. After confessing their feelings to each other, Chi Yang carried Shin-tong upstairs. Whispering intimately, Shin-tong held Chi Yang and spoke softly. "Chi Yang, I've fallen in love with you. What should I do?" Chi Yang smiled, raised her hand and pinned it above her head. Their fingers intertwined, delicate kisses landed on the corners of her lips. Her low, husky voice like a siren's whisper, laced with a hint of enchantment. "Tell me what to do, and I'll do it." Shin-tong reached out and hooked his arm around Chi Yang's neck, whispering in his ear, "Then I want you to stay by my side forever, and be good to me for the rest of my life." Chi Yang tightened his embrace. Okay, that's the end of today's story. If you like this video, please subscribe. We will continue to update with more exciting stories, and we look forward to seeing you next time.